Now, truly, it did seem very light after the horrid and lonesome gloom that did lie always in the bottom of the olden sea, and I saw that I was come out upon a part of the land that did be surely to the right of that place where I made entry into the seabed on mine outward going. And there did be a great plenty of fire holes, so that mine heart was warmed to see them. Yet did I mind to be wary in coming unto them, for, as you do know, there did so oft be life of this kind and that about these fires. And I looked now down to the maid, and she upward to me, and did come more anigh to me, and truly she did be most wondrous pretty and sweet, yet did seem very wearied and pale in the face, so that I made blame upon myself that I had overwalked her, for, in verity, I do think that I was so strong and hard as that I had been made from iron, and she but a dear and tender maid. Yet did she refuse that I should so reproach myself, and did but stand anigh to me and look at me with eyes that were very beautiful. And so I put mine arms about her, and kissed her, and afterward looked again over the land, that I should shape out our further journeying. And from that place where I did stand, there spread out all before me the blue shining that I had seen from the mouth part of the upward gorge. Yet did it be a great way off, and, indeed, I should tell you in this place, that it was by the glimmering of this shine within the sky of the night that I had steered, as we did come across the olden seabed. And, truly, it was but a broad thing to go toward, but yet did serve me, in that it told me that I went toward the far side of the seabed, and made not to go all about in blind circles in the night. And after that I had considered a while, I did know somewhat where the gorge should be, and perceived that I should go unto my left, but not overmuch, for indeed I saw the red shining of the giant's hole that lay at a great space that way, and surely I must go, so that I missed the place of the giants so much as I might, and in the same going come not over near unto the blue shining that lay before me across all the far part of that country, for in verity I mistrusted the place where that shining did be. Now when I had gained somewhat of knowledge where should be found the mouth of the upward gorge, I put mine arm about the maid, where she did stand so nigh to me, and very hushed, the while that I had looked about. And I pointed outward over the dark, land unto my left, and told her that the gorge did be somewhere that way, a great distance off, yet utter out of my sight, and only to be known that it did be somewise there by the things that I did mind of, concerning my way after I came into the land. Now the maid, having stood very quiet, had looked all that time about her, and so had come to some knowing of the place where she did be in the land, for she to know the land some ways, as you shall think. And she asked me how I did mind to go, and truly I said, so straight as we might, but yet so that we come neither too nigh to the shining nor to the great red fire pit of the giants. And the maid bade me to look in the way that I did mind to go, and I looked, but yet there was nothing save, as they did seem, certain fire holes that had a green shining about them. And she set out unto me then, how that there did go a tract of bad gas in that part of the land, that should be utter poisonous unto any, and this had been well known in the lesser redoubt by the reading of their instruments. And where the gas did go, there was there a green shining about the fire holes, and she showed me how that the place of the gas went a great way unto the northwest, so that I learned now somewhat how the land did lie, as we do say in these days. And it was in all the northwest that the great blue shining did burn. And I asked Nani how they named this, and she told me by no name save but the shine. And mine own made very earnest to warn me regarding the shine, and urged that we go no more that wards than should be needful to our lives, the which indeed was no wish of mine. And her reason to be that the fixed giants did be within the borders of the shine, and all hid in the light thereof, save when the burning mist did roll this way or that. And I took a great heed of this thing, and did guess that these fixed giants were somewhat even as the great watchers that were about the mighty pyramid, as you do know, and immediately I minded me of that utter monstrous face that I did see amid the bright smoke of the shine, when that I came first into the land. And surely this had been one of the fixed giants, that Nani told me were forces of great and very horrid evil. And I asked mine own how far the place of the gas went across the land, and she pointed and made further explaining. And, in verity, in the end, I saw not how I should come that way to the mouth of the gorge, if that I would keep off wards from the shine. Yet, in a moment, Nani asked me how I did come across the land, when that I searched for her. And truly, as I showed her, I had walked then by a sweet chance, or guiding, alway upon the far side of the place of the gas, and so unto the olden seabed, and was in this way come free of the gas, and all unknowing of it. And at this telling, the maid said that we go downward again into the bed of the olden sea, and walk some great hours below the shore, but in the way that should take us unto the southwest, and so until we were come beyond the place of the gas, and afterward up again into the land, and then to have an utter caution that we escape the watching of the giants who did be ever about the great red fire-hole, and by this plan very speedy to the entering part of the upward gorge. And truly, this did be very good and sound, and such as I should have planned in a moment, for, indeed, I am not over slow in such matters, only the maid did be very eager and quick, and it was very sweet to me that she should thus plan, for, in verity, I loved always the sounding of her voice, and to hear her have speech, and to plan and think, and so to show me the workings of her inward self, and her dear qualities, and human niceness, and to have part and lot alway with me in all things and thinkings. And we shaped to this plan that Nani made, but at that time, as you do mind, it was somewhat of 17 hours since last we had slumber, and the maid was sore wearied, as I did see, and I showed to her how that it did be wise that we have our rest very soon, and so forward again in new strength and ability. And the maid did soon agree with me, for indeed she was very weary, and we made it that we should venture unto one of the fire-holes that lay no great seeming away, a little upon our right, which was the northward way of that land. And we went toward the fire-hole, and truly it did be further off than we had thought, for it was a good hour before that we came anigh to it, and indeed it to prove a very great and red glowing shine that went upward into the night, out of the hollow place where it did burn among rocks. And when we were come near unto it, I made a sign to the maid that she be utter hushed, and I took the discourse from mine hip, and went forward before her, and afterward to my knees and hands, and beckoned backward to mine own, that she do likewise. And we came this way to the edge of the hollow place where the fire-hole did burn, and so were able in the end to look downward. And truly, it was a great fire that burned in the earth in that place, yet, as I perceived very swift, there did seem nowhere any monstrous thing about the fire, the which set some peace upon mine heart, but yet not overmuch, for it was come fresh upon me that we did well to stay afar off from the fires of the land, in that it was about the fires that all living things did congregate. And I looked a great time, and the maid crept unto mine elbow, and looked with me. And afterward we harked, very keen, into the night, but there was nowhere any trouble of the air or of the ether of the land. Yet I spoke quiet with the maid, and showed unto her how that we did well to stay off ward from the fires, but, truly, she was so utter cold and chill, that she did beg that we go down by the fire-hole, even should it be that we stay no more there than should put a warmth through the utter chill of our bodies. And, in verity, I was so bitter cold that I was all weak to go beside the fire, yet, truly, I do think that the shiverings of the maid was that which did force my heart to go against the teachings of my head, so that in the end we came down into the hollow and very swift unto the fire. Now, truly, it doth seem a strange thing to be so diverse-minded as this, when that, as you do know, I had been so long a search for a fire-pit, and mayhaps you shall perceive the better how my heart and brain did be contrary, when that I tell to you now how that I had belief that my spirit did even then be subtly set to warn me. And also, as all do know, it doth be easy to forget this warning, and that of experience, by which saying, I do mean that, oft as I had come to know the dangers that did be alway about the fire-holes, yet when I did be far off from them, and mine own broken, and a shiver with the chill of the land, but danger did seem but a small thing, and afar off from my mind, and unreal, but the cold to be doubly real. Yet, when we did come, even unto the fire-hole, then did come again all about my heart the truth of those dangers that had seemed, but a while gone, so little. And, indeed, I do hope you perceive me in this thing, and how that I strive alway to set unto you the utter truth, so that you shall go with me all the way, and lend me your nice understanding. Now, when we were come down unto the fire-pit, I went this way and that, among the rocks that did be in the bottom of the hollow, so that I should perceive whether there did be any living creature there hid, that should mayhap come out unknown to work us harm. But indeed I discovered nothing of any greatness, yet I saw 3 snakes, and there were beside 2 scorpion creatures, as I did name them, that neither went backward from me, nor came against me, but did bide where I saw them, each in an hole of the rock. And because I had seen these things, I saw that we should not do wise to sleep nigh unto the fire-hole, for the creeping things did mortally like the heat, and should be like to come upon us in our slumber. And indeed this did but uphold my caution, that we should be well actioned, if that we chose some other part to our rest. Yet, as you shall suppose, I said naught unto the maid concerning the creeping and the poisonous things, for I did mean that she have rest and happiness, the while that we did stay beside the fire-hole, and afterward I should tell her, and so she be the more ready to see the properness that we go elsewhere to our sleep. But, as you to understand, if that she not to see wisely and be still intent to the fire-hole, I should have her to obey, for surely she was mine own, and I did love her, and did mean alway to have her to safety. Now, presently, the maid was something warmed, and afterward she slipped the scrip from my shoulder, and so had food and drink very swift to my need. And we sat together, and eat, and drank, and the maid very sweet and quiet, as she did begin to eat her 2nd tablet, and, truly, I had knowing that she did remember in all her body that I had whipped her. And, indeed, she did be utter mine. And oft as we did eat and drink, I looked this way and that, so that no creeping thing should come anigh to us, and presently, when we had made an end of our food, the maid saw that I did look about, and she then very swift to catch some of mine unease, and to stare over her shoulder. And, indeed, in a little while she saw a snake go among the rocks, and she then to be very eager that we find some place that should be secure from creeping things, and we to begin then to look for such. But in the end we stayed in the hollow, for we found a little cave that did be in an upstanding rock of the hollow, and the upstanding rock was, mayhaps, 100 good feet off from the fire, for the hollow was very great, and the cave did be a hole that was thrice my height up from the bottom rocks, and it was dry and sweet, and with no creeping thing within it, neither did there be any place to hide such therein. And when we were gotten into the hole, surely it did be very sweet and cosy, for the shine of the fire-hole did shine therein, and surely we had felt it a very haven. But that there was ever the fear of the land upon our hearts, and upon mine the more than upon the maid, for, truly, mine own did seem to trust me utter, and to seem that she feared not any evil monster, but to have surety that I had power to succour her in all ways. And truly this trust had been very sweet unto my heart, if that I had lacked somewhat of my terror for the safe home-going of mine own. And we slept that night as we had done before, and shared the cloak over us, for truly the fire-hole made no great warmth unto us, yet was it less bitter in that part than in the darkness of the land. And by that we had come unto sleep. It was 20 good hours since last we had slumber, and truly we did be very wearied, but yet came unto our rest with our spirits set anxious to hearken on danger the while that we did sleep. And we slept 7 hours, and did know suddenly of some matter that had need to waken us, and lo! in a moment I did wake, and the maid in the same instant of time, and there was a great screaming and crying out in the night, that surely affrighted us both, yet did hurt our hearts the more, for it did be the utter cryings and terror of poor humans in the night of that land. Yet might I do naught, but only wait, that I learn more of the matter, for my duty was unto mine own, and I had no leave of rashness any more. Yet, as you do suppose, I was all shaken to go downward of the rock, and afterward to climb out from the hollow, that I should give some help unto they that did need help, but yet might I not leave the maid? And immediately there was a great roaring in one part of the night, and again another roaring in another part of the night, and lo! in a moment the roarings did be answered, and the roarings were the sounds of big and husky voices, so that it did seem that we harked to men so big as houses that did run and shout in the night. And the maid did begin to shake, and I put mine arm about her, and drew her backward into the hole, so that she did be into the shadow. And she to tremble like one that was broken in courage, for truly she had heard those sounds oft in the night in all the long and dreadful month that she had wandered. And indeed I was all shaken in my courage, for it did be the shouting of giants that I heard. And you do know somewhat of the utter horror and terror that did be alway in the heart that did hearken unto those monstrous voices, for you do know my tale. And there came in a moment a dreadful screaming out in the night, and the screaming did be the screaming of a young maid that doth be slain very brutal. And my heart sickened because of mine own, but my spirit did swell with a strange and utter anger, as that it should burst my body. And the maid to my side broke into an utter sobbing, and the screaming of the maid afar off in the dark did end very sudden, but in a moment there did be other screamings in divers places, and the hoarse shoutings of the great men, and the thudding of mighty feet that ran this way and that, a chase. And the cryings of the humans came nearer, and the thuddings of the great feet, and in verity, in a little minute, it did seem unto me that the sounds did be right upon the hollow, and I crept forward and peered out. And I felt the night to be full of people running, and immediately there passed by the hollow a clustering of humans that ran ever, and screamed and gasped and wept, panting as they ran. And the shining of the fire-hole made them plain seen and clear, and they did be both men and women, and were but in rags or utter naked, and all torn by the rocks and the bushes, and did seem, indeed, as that they had been wild things that did go by so swift and lost. And mine heart troubled me with the pain and longing that it did know, so that I had gone in a moment after those people, but that I should leave mine own and put her to peril. And even while that I felt so utter in this thing, there came a great thudding of monstrous feet, and there ran 4 great men out of the night, and went past the hollow very quick, and 3 did be dull-coloured and seeming much-haired and brutish, but the other did be an horrid white and livid blotched, so that it did seem to my spirit that there went by a thing that did be a very man-monster filled of unwholesome life. And surely they did be gone from out of the shine of the fire in one moment, as we do say, and again into the night to their dreadful chasing. And when the thudding of their feet had gone a long way off over the land, I heard them bellowing, and afterward a far-away screaming that did have a death note in it, and I knew that those dreadful brute men did be taking the life from some poor wild humans. And afterward there did be the silence again. And surely it did come to me with a fierce impatience of sorrow that those people did be without spirit of courage, else had they turned them upon the giants and slain them with their hands, even if that all had died to compass that slaying, for truly they should all die anywise by the giant men, and they had died then with somewhat to comfort their hate. Yet, as I do know, the peoples of the lesser redoubt had long been born of parents that were starved of the earth current through 100,000 years and more, and because of this thing they did surely lack somewhat in all ways, yet was Nani otherwise, but this not to prove aught save the rule, as we do say. Now, sudden, as I stooped very hushed and troubled in the mouth of the little cave, I knew that mine own sobbed dryly in the back part of the cave, and I had gone to comfort her, but that in the same moment I saw a naked maid run very swift over the edge of the hollow, and did look over her shoulder as she ran, and she came to the bottom and crept in under a ledge of rock that did be in that place, and she did seem utter worn and gone of the spirit and desperate. And I perceived in the same instant why that she did go stealthy and swift in that fashion, and to cower as for her very life, for there came a squat-haired man so broad as a bullock, who did come silent down into the hollow, looking this way and that, even as a wild beast doth peer, very sudden. And the squat man had instant knowing of the place where the maid did be, and ran in upon her with no sound. And I paused not, but leaped all the great way unto the bottom of the hollow, which did be, mayhaps, 20 good feet and more. For mine anger was upon me, and I did mean that I save that one, though I did be powerless to give succour unto those others. And I fell strong upon my feet, and had no harm of my limbs, for all that the leap did be so high. And in that moment, before that I had time to save the maid, the squat man ripped her, and she cried out once with a very dreadful scream, and was suddenly dead in the hands of the brute man. And my heart made my blood to burn with wrath in mine eyes, so that I had scarce power in that instant to see the squat man as I ran upon him. And the roar of the discos filled all the hollow, as I made it to spin, as that it did rage with an anger, and to be glut of the man. And the man came round upon me, and thought, mayhaps, to deal with me, as it had dealt with that poor maid, but not all that wise, as you must know. And I swung the discos, and it did seem to sing and to cry eager in my hands. And I smote at the squat man, even as it did leap silent upon me, as a tiger doth leap, making no sound. But I gate not home the blow, for the man dropped sudden down upon the hands, and the blow went overwards. And the brute man caught me by the legs to rip me, and I cut quick with the discus, and it did have but one monstrous talon left unto it. And immediately it cast me with the other, half across the hollow, and I fell with mine armour clanging mightily, and the discus did ring like a bell. And by the graciousness of all good things I was harmed, not by that monster throw, but was to my feet in one instant, and had not loosed the discus from my hand. And the beast-man did be upon me with 2 quick boundings, and I stood up to the man, and it made no sound or cry as it came at me, and there did a great froth of brute anger and intent come from the mouth of it. And the teeth came down on each side of the mouth, very great and sharp. And I leaped and smote, so that my blow should come the more speedy. And the discus took away the head and the shoulder of the squat man, and the dead thing knocked me backward with the spring that it had made. But it harmed me not greatly. Yet afterward I did know how sore and bruised I did be, in all my body and being. And I came back very swift against the man, but it did be truly dead and greatly horrid. And I went from the dead monster, and did go, all heart shaken, unto the dead maid. And I took the torn body of the maid, very sorrowful, and cast it into the fire-hole. And I turned me then, that I should look unto the cave, that I should know that all did be well with mine own, and whether she did have seen the horror, or be gone into a swoon. And lo, mine own did run toward me, and she had in her hand my belt-knife, which I did give her, before that time, to be a weapon for her defence. And I perceived that she had come to be mine aid, if that I did need such. And she did be utter pale, yet very steadfast, and not seeming to tremble. And I made to take her from that place, but she went beyond me, and looked at the monstrous bulk of the squat man, and was very silent. And she came back unto me, and still so silent. And she stood before me, and said no word, but my heart knew what she did be thinking. For I am not foolish, to have lacked to know what did be in her heart, though mine effort had not shown itself that way unto me before that moment. And I had no pretending of modesty, but received with gladness and a strangeness of humbleness the honour that her eyes did give to me, for indeed she did be so, that she might not give word to her joy of me and her glad respecting, the which is so wondrous good unto the heart of all men that do be loving of a dear and honest maid. And she said nothing, neither then nor afterward, but I did be honoured all my life after, when that I did any time mind me of the way that mine own looked upward at me in those moments. And afterward she did need and allow herself to come unto mine arms, that I hold her from the trembling of heart which did come to her. After that there did be no need for courage, for surely we had both seen a very dreadful thing, and there was a great horror upon us. And I climbed upward again to the little cave, and did help Nani, and when we were come there again, we did rest a while. And presently we eat, each of us, 2 of the tablets, and drank some of the water, and indeed we were both utter thirsty. And in about an hour after that we had harked very keen a time, we came downward again from the cave, and had our gear with us, and we came up out of the hollow, and set forward with a great caution unto the olden seabed. And we came there in 2 long hours, for we went very slow and with constant harkings, for the fear of the monstrous men was upon us. But there came no harm anigh, neither did we perceive any disturbance in the night of the land. And we went down an hour into the olden seabed, and did go now the more swift, for our fear was something eased from us. because that we had come away from that place where we had perceived so great and dread and hunting. But yet had we all care about us, for the giants surely to be everywhere in that land, but yet, as I do think, they to roam more often nigh to the fire-holes. For the humans did surely wander in such parts that they have warmth of the fires. And after we had gone downward an hour into the seabed, we turned somewhat unto the southwest, and went for 12 great hours, and did never be any huge space from the shore, for it did run that way, as you do know. And I made to steer by the shinings of the land, and with advices from mine own. And in the end of the 12th hour, I did count our distance, making that we did walk somewhat of a certain speed, and by the tellings of the maid, we did be surely come beyond the place of the land where the poison gas did lie, and by this it did be something after 17 hours since we did sleep, and surely we did be very ready to have rest, for we had gone forward strongly, and with anxiousness, and truly my hurts did become upon me, so that my whole body did ache. For the quick fight had been bitter, and I had been thrown very hard and brutal, and indeed it was wondrous that I had not been all smashed, only that the armour did save me. And this doth show truly how hard and strong I did be. And Nani did speak upon this, and was oft a wonder, and at that time did beg me that I make some rest to cure my hurts, for she had not conceived that a man did grow so strong and hardy, and, in verity, the men of the lesser redoubt did be soft-made and lacking of grimness, as I did perceive both through my reason and from her tellings, for they did lack the strong life that doth breed. Where is the beat of the earth current, as we to have in the mighty pyramid? And this thing I have said somewise before this time, and because that we did be so wearied, I said unto Nani that we find a place for our slumber, and she very willing, as I have shown, and to counsel me likewise. Yet did we search about in that gloom for a great hour more, and found no cave or hole to give us a safe refuge for our sleep. And when that we could not find such, I told Nani that we should put the boulders together somewhat, and so have them about us, that we be greatly hid. And, in truth, even as I began to tell her my plan, she did have the same words in her mouth, so that we caught our little fingers. There, in the dark of that grim land in the end of the world, even as she and I had done oft in the early years, before that eternity, when that she did be Mirdath the Beautiful. And we did both be silent, and after that we had wished very solemn and earnest, we said each a name, even as lad and maid shall do in this age, and so to laughter and kissed one the other. And truly the world doth seem not to alter in the heart, as you shall think. And this was what I did find. And we set to, and gathered together the boulders which did be very plentiful in that part, and she carry those that did be thin and flat, and I to roll those that did be great and round. And I made a place that did be long and narrow, and afterward I set the flat stones round the sides, that there be no little hole by which any creeping thing should come inward to sting us in our sleep. And afterward we gate inside, and surely it did be very cosy, as we do say, but yet not so secure as I did wish, only that I could not shift to plan aught better. And indeed it should keep off from us any small thing, and should be like to save us from any monstrous brute treading upon us, but otherwise it did be but a poor affair. Now we eat 2 of the tablets each, and drank some of the water, even as we had done in the 6th and the 12th hours, and afterward we shared the cloak for our slumber, and we kissed very sedate and loving, and charged our spirits that we wake, if that any horrid thing should come anigh to us in our sleep, and afterward we did be gone very swift to slumbering, and suffered no harm. And I waked 7 hours after, and surely I did ache very bitter, as I did move my body, for the bruisings did be gotten hold of me. And I slipped away from the maid, very gentle, for I had mind that she sleep a while more, as I did mean that we make a great journey that day. And after I had harked a while, and perceived that there was no evil thing anigh, I went outward of the stones. And I walked to and fro, and moved mine arms, that I be eased somewhat of the stiffness and ache. But surely it did seem that many hours must go ere I should make any speed of travel. For I did be all clumsy and slow, and nigh to groan with the pain of going, and aught that I did. And I minded me that I should do somewhat to ease this thing, lest that I cause us both to come to an harm by staying over long in that land. And I went back into the stones, and gat an ointment from the pouch that I did carry. And surely the maid did yet sleep. And I went outward of the stones again, and stripped off the armour, and all my garments, and I rubbed my body with the ointment, and surely the pain did be so, that I groaned at this time and that. But yet must I rub good and strong, so that I die not of the cold of the land, and beside I was greatly anxious to cure myself. And sudden, as I did rub very strong and savage, and heeding so well as I might that I groaned not, the maid did speak close beside me. And indeed, she could see me but dimly, and had waked sudden to hear my groaning, and I was not to her side. And immediately she had thought that some evil thing harmed me, and was come in an instant that she be with me. And she cared not that I did be naked, but was utter in anger that I strove to do this thing alone, and with none to aid me, and all uncovered to the chill of the land. And she ran back into the stones, and brought the cloak, and put it about me, and was so angered that she stamped, and had no impudence, but rather as that she did be minded to have tears. And she sent me back into the sheltering of the stones, and gathered mine armour, and brought these things after me, but the discus I took in my hand. And she took the pot of the ointment from me, and made me to lie, and she rubbed me very strong and tender, and kept me warm with the coke. And surely she was a wise and lovely maid, and utter mine own. And in the end she asked me how I was. And I said that I did be different, and she hurried me that I be closed very quick, for she did be sore afraid that I should come to a chill. And when I was gotten again into mine armour, she came to me, and showed me where I did lack wisdom, and spoke very straightly and gentle and serious, and afterward kissed me, and gave me my tablets, and to sit beside me. And we eat and drank, and I with a new lovingness unto mine own, and she somewhat as that she did mother me. But when I put mine arm about her, she did be only a maid. And we did be thus, with but little talk, and a great content. And afterward we gate our gear together, and went from that little refuge that we had made, and in a while we did go upward out of the olden sea-bed. And when we were come again to the top of the shore, the which we did in 2 good hours, I looked over the land a time with mine own anigh to me, and I perceived that the great red fire pit of the giants did be no mighty way off unto the south and west. And surely in a little moment we saw that there went monstrous figures against the shine of the mighty fire pit, and we stooped unto the earth. For it did seem that the light did be like to show us standing there, though truly we did be afar off, as you perceive. Yet mayhaps you do share with us the utter horror and distress that those horrid men did cast about the heart, and so have a kindly understanding of our fear. And over all the land, in this place and that, there did be the small shining of little fire-holes and pits, that did be alway red, save in that part where the poison gas did lie, the which we had now come safe past. And beyond the fire-holes was the great shine, that lay from the west unto the north of all that land. And, in verity, we did need that we steer so that we come not anigh to it, neither unto the great red fire pit of the giants, neither unto the low volcanoes which were beyond the great red fire pit, as you do know, and some ways unto the mouth of the upward gorge. And the way of our journey was between the west and the southwest of that land, and to be made with cunning and wisdom, that we come clear of all unseemly danger unto mine own. And I asked her concerning this thing and that of the land, and surely she told me so much of terror that I was half in a wonder that ever I did live in the end to come unto her. And it was because of the things that she set out to me, that I perceived how we must come nowise anigh to the low volcanoes that were upon this side of the mouth of the upward gorge. For it had been known alway in the lesser redoubt that there went very horrid men in that part that did be called wolf-men. But whether there did be any such thing in that age, she had no knowing, for she told me the things that did be set down in the records and the histories, and truly no man of the lesser redoubt had found heart in 1,000 great years to make a journeying through the land for the desire of glad and dreadful adventuring, such as our young men did be offset to, though it was not all such that went. And because there did be no adventuring for so monstrous a space of years, there was no certain new knowledge of the land of that age. And this thing is plain to you, and needing not of many words, which do so irk me. And Nani set out to me how that the Shine was conceived to be a land where evil did live for ever, and whence came all those forces of evil that did work upon the lesser refuge, and afterward she did quiet, so that presently I perceived that she did weep to herself, because that her memory was all new, stirred by my questionings. And I took her very gentle into mine arms, as we did be there kneeled upon the earth. And after that time I asked her no question, save as it did be needful to our health and life. Yet oft did she tell me this thing and that of her knowledge, to be for mine help and guiding. Now we went forward, going a space toward the northwest, so that we come the more clear of the place where did be the great red fire pit of the giants. And we journeyed with a care alway that we show not ourselves over plain, unto the light that shone over the land from the great pit. And oft we did creep a while over this stark place and that, and went nimbly amid the bushes that grew oft in great parts. And we made 6 hours this way, and did then have pause, that we eat and drink, and truly it was 9 hours since. First I did wake, yet had we made no pausing, because that we were so set to our journeying to come clear of the place where did be the giants. And after that we had eat and drunk, we went onward again, and made now unto the southwest, for we did heed that we go no more unto the northwest, because that should bring us over near to the Shine. And in the 14th hour of that day's travel, we came to a part where the land dipped downward into a broad valley, and surely it did be very dark down there, and did be seeming shallow, yet truly of a great deepness. But we went that way, because that it did be a weary, long journey to go around the place where the valley did be. And the valley had a different darkness from the gloom that went alway in the olden seabed, for the gloom of the seabed did be ever of a greyness, but the gloom of this valley had a greater dark within it, yet did the air seem more clear. And we went downward 3 hours into the valley, and stopped then that we eat and drink, and truly I had not paused then, but that mine own did insist, for our methods did be like, else to go all adrift, and we to be lacking of proper strength. And this was wisdom of the maid, but I to be a little irked like and restless, and this mayhap because that my blood did itch me, because that it did be so full of the poison of my bruises, and it was gone now of 17 hours since last we did sleep, but yet did we be ready to go forward, that we come so quick as maybe out of the dark of that valley, for there did seem nowheres any fire-hole to make a light, only that in this place and that there did be a little blue shining, as that there burned a strange gas in this part or that. Now, in 2 hours, after the time that we did eat, we stopped, both of us, very sudden, for there did be some vague and curious sound in the night, and we went very swift to the earth, that we be hid and harked, but did hear nothing. And in a while we to go onward again. Yet there did be an unease upon our spirits, for our spirits did perceive something afar off in the night. But yet had we no surety in this matter, and we went forward through a great hour more, and did pass in that time 2 places where the blue shining did be, and truly it seemed as that a low gas hung to the earth in this part and that, and made a slow burning, having neither noise nor spurtings, but slow, as that it did smoulder, and be all to shine and luminous. And oft there did be a strong smelling of a bitter gas, very horrid in the throat. And in the end of another hour, while that we were a space off from one of those gas shinings, there went past us at a distance, as it did seem people, running in the night, as that they did be lost spirits, yet with a rustling very soft, so that they did be like to be barefoot. And I thought mayhap that these did be some of the peoples of the lesser pyramid. Yet did they be only as that shadows went among the blue shinings. And I pondered a moment whether that I send my voice over the valley to question what they did be, but yet had caution, and harked through the utter silence of the night, for I had no surety of aught. And surely, in that moment that we harked very keen, there did be a sound afar off in the night of the land, and it was as that we had heard the sound before, and, in verity, our spirits had perceived the sound those 2 hours back, and now our bodies did wot, and perceived that we had known it subtly before that moment. And the sound was as that something went spinning in the night. And a very great terror came upon the maid, for she did know the sound, and the sound was that which did show that one of the great evil forces of the land did approach. And the sound had been known alway in the lesser refuge to show this thing. And, indeed, mine own spirit had been half to know that a power of evil did come through the night, but yet was the assurance very terrible. For how should I protect mine own? And the spinning came toward us, and was presently in the valley, and it came swiftly across the dark of the valley. And my heart was all broken within me, because that there had been happiness with us, but a little time gone, and now there did be our death anigh. And mine own gave me the knife that I had given to her, meaning that I slay her in the last moment. For she did heed even in that moment that she be not gashed horridly by the terror of the discourse. And I took the knife, and I kissed not mine own, but stood there very shaken and desperate, and gripped her fast unto me, scarce heeding the hardness of my gripe. And alway I looked unto the way of the coming of the sound, and presently did unbear my wrist where the capsule did be, and the sound of the thing. Spinning came anigh across the valley, and my heart did dull, and my spirit go black with my desperateness, because that this thing must be, and because that I could nowhere see hope that I should save mine own. And, of a sudden, the maid put up her arms, and pulled me downward, and kissed me once on the lips, but I wot not whether I kissed her, for I did burn with despair, and was all adrift in my being. Yet was there a sharp comfort that mine own dying did be so nigh. And the maid stood gently against me, so that she did be convenient unto my hand. And afterward I remembered this thing. And do you pray that you be never to have such a matter on your hearts? But indeed there was a wonder in this thing, beside the horror, so that my memory doth be alway knowing of this wonder, and mayhap you do see with me, and love mine own also in your hearts. And in the moment that the maid stood thus, as I have told, I perceived sudden that there did be a little glowing in the night, and the glowing was pale and horrid, and there was no more any sound of the spinning, only there did be, as it were, the trunk of a great tree that did show in the glowing, and the trunk of the tree came toward us across the darkness. And I turned the maid from the tree, and she did flutter a little in my hands, as I did know, scarce knowing, for she perceived that she did be going to die in that moment. And I had my body thus between the evil thing and the maid, and lo! The tree came no more anigh to us, but went backward, and the pale glowing did fade, and the tree no more to be seen. And I cried unto the maid very husky that we did live, for that the evil power was gone off from us. But she answered not, and did be heavy against me. And I held her, and looked alway about us, lest the tree come in upon the other side. And, as I looked this way and that, I saw naught, and afterward, in a moment, I searched the night above, lest that the thing come from above. And, behold, I saw that there abode over us a clear light, as it were, a clear burning circle, above us in the night. And my heart did leap with an holy joy and an utter great thankfulness. And I was no more in fear of the tree, for, in verity, there fought for our souls one of those sweet powers of goodness that did strive ever to stand between the forces of evil and the spirit of man. And this matter have I shown to you before this time. And concerning this holy defence, I have thought that it should not, mayhap, to have had so strong a power to save us, if that we had shown an over-weakness and fear, but because that we did rather stand so well as we might to make battle of escape from so dire a destruction. And, surely, this doth seem but a sane thinking unto me, but yet without proof, and to be said to you only as the shapings of my thoughts. And this, the chief end of that happening, that the holy circle did truly deliver us, and burned through 12 great hours above us. And by this do I know that the evil power hovered anigh to destroy us all that while, for indeed it doth not be proper of reason to suppose that such an utter wondrous thing did be needlessly over us, save to be a shield of great and lovely force against a waiting evil thing. And surely you do see this wise with me. And truly, so soon as my spirit and reason perceived that we did be no more to suffer from the evil thing, I remembered that I did know that mine own had swooned. And, in verity, you shall mind how that she did face her death so utter sweet and brave, and had given no cry, but made quietly to help me in that dreadful moment, and did stand brave and gentle to the stroke, and so fell into a swoon, as you have seen, because that she did suffer 100 deaths, as she did stand so brave, waiting to be slain, for the blow did be so long delayed, yet to come in any moment. And I gat her to come to unto her life again, and I set the lovely tail very swift to ease her, and surely with love and warmth, and kissed her with a great joy. And I showed how I did honour her for her good courage. And she to weep a little, with the ease come so sudden upon her, and afterward to kiss me upon the lips 100 times, and to need that she be very safe in mine arms, because that I had meant that I do so dread an office to her. And surely I do wonder whether you perceive all that did be then in her heart. And the holy light that did be over us, she did watch with a sweetness of awe, and rest did come more great upon her in the heart, as she did learn how sure was the seeming of that lovely power to deliver us. And presently we made forward again in the valley, and did go steadfast, and newly loving each to the other, and so through 12 great and body-weary hours, but our hearts could never be done sinning within us, nor our hands to cease from the hands of the other, because that we did so crave each unto the beloved. And in the 9th hour, a monstrous way off in the dark of the valley, there did seem as that there went a far and dreadful screaming in the night. And it did be as that our spirits perceived the sound of something spinning in the night, yet faint, and a great way off. But yet had we no surety that we did truly hear the sound of the spinning, only we did be so shaken in the heart. For truly there was some horror done unto humans downward in the mighty darkness of the valley. And to think upon the sound of the spinning was to be in a shaking trouble of the spirit, and to bless the quiet and holy light that went above us in all that time, and to ache only that it should stay to be to our protecting. And surely it did be plain that there were the signs of great forces in that land. And 3 hours after that time, when we did hear the far-off screaming, we were come up over the edge of the valley, and did be once more unto such light as did be general in the land, and truly it did seem a wondrous lightness after so utter a dark. And we did be all exhaust, and mine own drew her feet so weary that it was as that she must go no more, until we did rest. For indeed it was 33 hours since last that we had slept, and a bitter trouble and work there had been in that space, as you do know. Now we had eat some of the tablets a few hours back as we did walk, and had drunk some of the water, but had made no rest, for we did crave only that we come free of that valley. And now it was needful that we rest, if but a little time, and I minded that we find some place where I should have a hot pool, that I be able to bathe Nani's feet. And surely we came in a while to a hollow place, and there did be 2 dull burning fire holes in this place, and a hot bubbling spring, the which did seem to be a rare thing in that land, so that we were the more fortunate to perceive it. And I made mine own to sit, with her feet in the hot spring, for it was not over hot, and did seem pretty natural to my taste, as I did prove in the first. And also I did search about the hollow, lest there be any harmful creature nearby. And this you will have truly supposed, because you do know the methods of my journeying. But yet did I not have so much care as did be proper, for I was so dull in the mind by reason of my weariness. But indeed there came naught to work us any harm, and so we came to no suffering through mine aches and dullness. And I sat beside the maid, and made her to eat a tablet, and saw that the cloak did be nice about her, and her head to rest against my knee. And I laid the palm of my hand to be as a pillow, because of the armour, to ease the hardness. And I eat with the maid, and we both drank after, and so there came back somewhat of our strength. Then I took the maid's little feet, and rubbed a portion of the ointment from the pot all about them, very gentle and constant, and so did they, be new rested and eased, and she presently fit again to the journey, for I was strong set that we go quickly. Hence out of that land, and stay no more there to sleep, lest we come unto destruction. And when we had rested an hour, I put the shoes again upon the maid, and made them secure, and so gate my gear about me, and made to the journey. And lo! As we did leave the hollow, I looked upward unto the holy light, and behold, it was gone from us. And by this thing I supposed that we had come free of instant danger. But yet did there be to me a seeming of nakedness and unprotection, as you must perceive. And because that the light was vanished, I was the more set that we come speedy out of the land. And we went forward at a strong speed, and had the great red fire pit of the giants to our rear unto the left, and a mighty way off in the night, but yet I did wish it the further. And before us was a small ridging up of the dark land, as I did judge, because that our view of the lights and the shinings was bounded, and to our left, at a great way, the low volcanoes, and somewhat to our right, across all that part of the land, went the cold and horrid glare of the shine. Now, in a little while, I felt that the ground did be sloped upward before us a little, and by this thing I saw that I had known aright, for that there did be a ridge that hid the land, somewise over, unto the part where I looked, to find the mouth of the upward gorge. And we went up this slope at a strong pace, because that I was so eager that I find where we did be in nearness unto the mouth of the upward gorge. And surely I was something forgetful in mine eagerness, and came somewhat ahead of mine own, who did make to hide from me that she did begin to lag, because that her new strength was near gone from her. And sudden there did be a very dreadful cry to my back, and I came round in one instant, so quick as a light doth flash, for it was the voice of mine own. And all my being did suddenly burn with fear that kindled through me in a moment of thought. And lo, mine own did struggle terribly with a yellow thing, which I perceived to be a man with 4 arms, and the man had 2 arms about the maid, and with 2 did make to choke her unto death, for she cried out no more. And I came unto the man with a quick leaping, and stopped, not to pluck the discourse from my hip, and surely I did be very strong, and mine anger and rage to make me monstrous, for I caught the 2 upper arms of the man, and brought them backward in an instant, so fierce and savage, and so wrenched upon them, that I brake them in the shoulders of the man. And the man roared and shrieked, even as a wild and dreadful beast should cry out, and came round upon me with the 2 lower arms. And surely it was a mighty and brutish thing, and so broad and bulked as an ox. And the lower arms were huge and greatly haired, and the fingers of the hands did have the nails grown into horrid talons, as that they should grip very bitter. And it caught me by the thighs, to rip me upward, as I did fear. But yet this did not be the intent of the man, for in a moment it caught me round the body, and on the instant I gate the man by the great throat, and the throat did be haired, and so great as the neck of a bull. And I strove with mine armed hands that I choke the man, and surely I made it to suffer great trouble, yet I could not harm it in the life. And so I did, be an horrid minute, and fought with the beast, with no more than the strength of my body. And it was as that an human went with his hands to slay a monster so strong as an horse. And the breath of the man-beast came at me, and did sicken me. And I held the face off from me, for I had died with horror, if that it had come more anigh. And surely the mouth of the man was small, and shaped so that I knew that it did never eat of aught that it did slay, but to drink as a vampire. And in truth I did mean that I chop the man to pieces, if that I have chanced to the discourse. And I did sway this way and that, as we did struggle. And surely it was as that the man had never made to use the lower arms, save to hold unto prey, the while that it did use the upper arms to strangle, as I do think. For all that weary minute of the fight, the man made not to loose from me, that it should tear my hands from their grip to the throat, but made vain waggings with the arms that I brake, as that it would use these to the attack. But surely they had no more power to do hurt. And sudden it put forth an utter power about my body, so that mine armour did be like to crack, and truly I had died in a moment, but for the strongness of the armour. And the man hugged me thus for an horrid time, the while that I did hold off from me the brutish face, and gripped very savage into the haired throat. And lo! The creature did work slow in the brain, and in the end loosed from me, abrupt, and went back with a leap, so that my hands did be ripped from the throat of the beast, and in one instant it did be back unto me, and gave me no moment to free the discourse. But I made anew to fight, and shaped as I had learned in the exercises of mine upbringing. For truly I had been always deep in practice of such matters, and I slipped from the great hands of the man, as it did try to take me by the head, and I hit the man with mine armoured fist, and put a great power and skill to the blow. And I went instant to the side with a swift stepping, and evaded the man, and I smote the man again, and took him very savage in the neck, but all the while grown very cold and brutal and cruel, for I was set to the slaying. And the man-beast came round on me, and lo! I slipped the gripe of the great hands, and my body and my legs and mine arms did work together unto that last blow, so that I did hit so hard as a great hammer. And I gate the beast in the throat, and the beast went backward to the earth, even as it did think to hold me. And lo! In a moment I was free, and I plucked forth the discus from my hip, and the yellow beast-man grunted upon the ground, and it rose up again to come at me, and it stood, and did grunt, and did seem as that it was gone mazed, for it did make other sounds, and an horrid screeching, so that truly, by the way of it, I conceived that it cried out unknown and half-shapen words at me. And in a moment it came again at me, but I cut the head from the beast-man. That was in verity an horrid monster, and the man died, and was quiet upon the earth. And truly, in that moment, the distress of mine efforts and mine utter tiredness, and the ache of the bruises took me, so that I do surely think I rocked as I stood, but yet was my head strong to think, and my heart set in anxiousness, for I wotted not how great an hurt had been done upon mine own. And I ran to her, and came to where she did be upon the ground, and surely she was all huddled, and had her hands very piteous to her throat, that did be so pretty. And it did shake me in that moment that she was truly slain, for she was gone so utter still, and as that she did be broken unto death. And I took her hands from her throat, and surely it did be a little torn, yet not to be much, or so that it should loose her of her dear life. And I strove that I steady the trembling of my hands, and I gat free of mine armoured gloves, and made that I feel whether her throat did be deadly hurt, and, in verity, it seemed not so, only that my hands did so shake, because that I was so frightened for mine own, and because that I was but new, come from the battle, and because of this I had not power of touch to assure me. I made then that I quietened my breath, which did yet come very full and laboured, and I put mine ear above the heart of the maid, and lo! Her heart did beat, and the horridness of my fear went from me in a moment, and I had the scrip from my back very speedy, and some of the water to fizz, and I dashed the water upon her face and upon her throat, and surely there did be a little quivering and an answering of her body. And I strove with her for a while more, and she came unto her life again, and in the first she was all alack, as you may think, and immediately she began that she remembered, and she then to shake, and I told her how that the four-armed man was surely dead and could harm her no more, and she then to weep, because that she had been put to such shock and horror, and held by so brutish a thing. But I took her into mine arms, and so she did come presently to an ease, and I perceived in all my being that she was as a little ship that doth lie in harbour, for she did cling and nestle unto me, and did be safe with me in all her heart and body and belief. And surely she was mine own, and I, to have glory in that knowing. And presently I put her from mine arms to lie, yet so that she might not perceive the body of the yellow beast man. And I made clean the discus from her sight, and afterward I put on the scrip, and I took the maid to mine arms again, and had the discus in my hand beside her. And she made protest that she should truly walk, for that I was all a-weary, and she come to her strength again. And Indeed, I carried her a certain way, and did then put her down to her feet. And truly her knees did so tremble that she had not stood, let be to walk. And I caught her up again, and I kissed her, and I told her that I did be surely her master, in verity, and she mine own baby slave. And truly you shall not laugh upon me, for I was so human as any, and a man doth talk this way with his maid. And she did be quiet and sweet, and to obey wisely, for she was gone very weak. And this wise we did go, and I to say loving words in the first. But afterward I did heed more of my going, now that she was something eased and at rest within mine arms. And I did peer everywhere about, lest that some other evil thing come outward of the bushes, to have at us ere I did wear. And truly, the bushes grew here and there in that place, very plentiful, in great dumpings. And presently I was come to the top part of the ridge, and lo! a great gladness took me, and some amazement, for there did be the lights that did be in the mouth of the upward gorge, and they did show me that I was come anigh to that place. Yet had I feared that we were surely 12 great miles off, and now I to learn that we did be scarce of 2, or maybe 3, as I did judge. And I told this thing to the maid, and she rejoiced in mine arms, with a deep and quiet thankfulness. And I set forward then at so good a pace as I might. And I was come into the mouth part of the upward gorge in about an hour. And surely I did be very weary, for it was beyond 36 hours that we had gone since last we did sleep, and there had been sore labour and terror to our share in that time, as I have told. And I turned in the mouth of the gorge, and told mine own, very gentle, that we did take our last look upon that land, and she asked that I put her down to her feet, and I put her down, and therewith we stood in that place, and mine arm about her. And so did I support the maid, the while that she looked silent over the dark of the land. And presently she asked me in a very hushed voice whether that I knew where the lesser pyramid did be in all that darkness, for she was all adrift of her bearings, and was as a stranger, because that she had never looked upon the land from that place before then. And I showed her where I thought the pyramid to stand hid in the everlasting night, and she nodded, very quiet, as that she did think that wise also. And so a time did pass, and I knew that Nani said good-bye forever unto all that she had known of the world in all her life, and she did be whispering a good-bye in her soul unto her dead. And I was very hushed and deeply sorrowful for the maid, and did understand, for in verity there should no other human look upon that land of terror through all the quiet of eternity. And the maid did lose all her young life into that blackness, and the father that was her father, and the grave of her mother, and the friends of all her years. And there went death in the land, even then, after those that did live. And mine own shook a little within mine arm, so that I knew she strove that she be brave, to weep not, but afterward she made not to cease from her tears, and truly I was there, to be her understanding, and she did be sweet and natural ever with me, for she was mine own, and did be hourly the more so. And presently I moved a little to sign that we go downward of the gorge, and she stayed me one moment, that she look once more over all that land, and afterward she submitted, and turned with me, and did break into very bitter sobbing, as she did go stumbling beside me, for the sorrow of memory did fill her. And she was truly a very lonesome maid in that moment, and had come through much dreadfulness. And in a minute I stooped and lifted her, and she wept in mine arms against mine armour, and I very silent and tender with her, and carried her downward of the gorge for a great hour more. And presently she was grown calm, and I knew that she slept in mine arms, And in this wise we made farewell of that dark land, and left it unto eternity. Downward of the gorge. Now I carried the maid an hour downward of the gorge, as I did say, and I was then grown so weary that I near fell, as I walked, and stumbled every while, because that I had lost somewhat of guiding in my feet, the which did show mine utter alackness. And I saw that I must come very swift to a place for slumber, or that I did be like to fall headlong with the maid, for I nigh slept as I walked. And I began that I give attention to the sides of the gorge, and surely I had gone that hour all in a dream, for I was fresh waked, as it were, in that I did give my will to perceive aught. And when I did come to have power to attend, I knew that I had gone, even as a sleepwalker, for the gorge did seem a fresh matter unto me, and as that I had come awake, sudden, to find myself a walk in that strange and narrow place. And presently I saw somewhat where I did be, for I minded the memory of mine outward journey, and truly I have a good power to know and remember a way that I have gone. And I saw that there was a great and ruddy fire-hole anigh to me, and I was all sure that I had perceived certain caves in the wall of the gorge, near to that fire, as I passed it on mine upward way, and I had been given a mighty longing of heart at that time, that it be given to me that I should bring safe mine own out of the peril that beset her, and have her unto just such a place for her slumber, on the way of our journey backward. And surely I tell you this thing as a child in pleasure, for truly it was a wondrous happy matter that my desiring should be like to have a true ending, as, indeed, it did seem was truly to be, if that my memory had set me aright. And I went onward somewhat, and lo, I to be right, for the little caves did be there, a little past the great fire-hole, and there were 7 of them in the left side of the great cliff of the gorge, and one did be as that it were very cosy, and a place of sure safety, if that we could win unto it. And truly, as I did conceive, we had come safe from the evil forces of that land, but yet did I mind that there was no surety in this thing, and neither did I know but that some monster should come downward of the gorge out of that land, and so work our deaths as we did sleep, if that we have no sure place for our slumber. And, indeed, I had wished that we were come a greater way downward of the gorge, but this might not be, for I was all adrift with weariness, and truly, if that we gat upward to the topmost cave, there did be few monsters that should have power to come at us, ere we be warned of their coming. And afterward they should be like to come upward against the discourse, and this should be indeed a thing difficult, as you shall conceive. Now it did be needful that I wake the maid, and I kissed her, as she did be in mine arms, and surely that dear one did kiss back again in her sleep, and was yet asleep. And truly I did love her with all my being, and I kissed her again, and shook her very gentle, and so had her to wakefulness, and told how we did be come to a place fit for our slumber. And she to look about, very sleepy, as I set her to her feet, and then to upbraid herself that she did over to slumber, the while that I did labour with her carrying. And, in verity, I kissed her again, as she did stand making to steady herself, and looking so pretty with the sleep that did lie yet in her eyes. And she to kiss me very dear, and all mine, and even then scarce proper come to wakefulness, and did say, with something of a little dear abandon, that she did love me utter and for ever. And afterward I climbed to the topmost of the caves, and told mine own the while that she walk up and down a little, so that she come to a full awakeness, and this I was careful to, because that she should have a need of all her powers, that she come safe upward unto the cave. And when I was come to the cave, lo! It did be so sweet and dry, as did make glad my heart, and there did be a warmth in the cave, as that there went a fire somewhere through the rocks anigh, and the light from the fire-hole did make a reflection inward, and so this did seem a place safe, and fit to our slumbering. And I came downward unto Nani, calling that the cave was very proper for our use, and presently I gave her mine aid to the climbing. And so we came, in the end, safe into the cave, and truly we did feel very safe and happy. Yet, before we did sleep, I set free the scrip and the pouch, and took the straps and went downward again into the gorge, and I gat a good boulder, so heavy as I might carry, and strapped it to my back, and came upward again to the cave, and the maid very grave and anxious, lest that I slip to my hurt. And when I was come to the cave again, I set the boulder in the mouth of the cave, and did balance it so light upon the edge, that a touch should send it rolling downward. And by this devising, I conceived that any beast or monstrous thing that should climb upward whilst that we slept, should be like to set the rock adrift, and mayhaps the rock to work an harm to such, but the chief end to be that I should be swiftly waked by the noise. And then I did turn that we go to our slumber, and lo! the maid had spread the cloak upon the rock, that we should sleep upon it. For truly there did be no need that we have it now to our covering, because that the cave did be so warm as I have told before. And surely there did be no cause either that I should have the cloak for a bed, for how should I perceive any softness from the cloak, through all the sternness of mine armour? But yet did I see that the maid had made a couch that should be for the two of us, and did be so sweet and natural, and to lie by me, but yet to preserve her sweet modesty, and to do the thing with no thought, save that it was natural to our hearts, and that she did long alway to be anigh to me, but yet mayhaps scarce full conscious that her heart did prompt her in this thing. And, in verity, I loved her very dear. And surely Nani showed me the where that I should lie upon my side, and when I had obeyed, she kneeled and kissed me on the lips, very sober and loving, and she lay down then upon the cloak beside me, and truly we had both gone to sleep in one little minute, as I do think. Now, I did be waked 12 great hours after, by the fizzing of the water, and lo! when I looked, the maid was not beside me, but did make ready our simple eating and drinking. And she laughed at me, very sweet and tender, because that she loved me so, and did be so glad to have me awake to her. And she came over to me and kissed me very bright and loving upon the lips, and after that she had kissed me, she kneeled beside me and looked at me, very dear and tender, so that I knew in a moment that she had waked a while gone, and watched me, somewise mother-like, as I did sleep. But how I knew this thing, I am not sure, save that my spirit did know, or that her thoughts did have tongues unto mine. And truly I needed that I be so loved, and all of you to say like with me. And I put up mine arms to her, as I did yet lie, and she not to deny me, but came into mine arms, and did snuggle there so sweet and happy, and gladly, and with so true a delight, that it did be plain how she did love in all her body and spirit to be anigh to me as I to her. Yet truly, as you do mind, the armour did be upon me, so that I feared to take her very strong in mine arms, lest I hurt the dear maid. And surely the armour did be a stern matter for her to nestle unto, but yet mayhaps did the sternness something please her woman heart, and yet again mayhaps to lack. And presently she made that she would go from me, and I loosed mine arms from her very ready, because that I did heed alway that she have full sweet liberty of her dear maidenhood, and I to be watchful sufficient unto this end, yet always honest and wholesome, and not over-pondering even in this my care. And this proper intending you shall ever perceive, if that your hearts do strive to hearken unto my heart, which doth speak alway before you. And the maid went from me, over to where she had put the cup of the water, and the tablets, and I, to make to rise, that I look, that the boulder did be safe untouched in the mouth of the cave. But she called unto me that I lie backward, for that she did mean gently to spoil me that once, and that I have no heed to the boulder, or whether there did be any monster or beast anigh in the gorge. For that the boulder did be safe, as I did, balance it, and nowhere's any creature to sight in the gorge. For she had looked oft, since waking, to this end, and truly I obeyed and lay back, and did like that I should be spoilt, as we do say. And Nani brought the cup of the water, and the tablets over to me, for she get them from the scrip before I had it to my pillow, in that while when I had gone downward for the boulder. And surely, even when she brought the cup, she would not have me to rise, but took my head upon her knees, and kissed me once very dainty on the lips. And I very happy to be so loved, and wishful no otherwise. And she took a tablet and kissed it, and gave it to me, and afterward touched another to my lips, and had that to be for her own. And so we eat, and were very glad and happy, some ways as children are happy, and our hearts all at ease. And presently we eat each our second tablet, in the same wise as the first. And truly I did be kissed more than once. And afterward we drank each of the water, and when we had made an end, Nani told me that I moved to stand. And surely I wondered, and I stood up, and lo! I near cried out with the pains of my bruisings, for I was all gone stiff in my sleep, and as that I did be more sore than ever, and this to be because I had fought again, as you do know, and surely had been hurt more by the four-armed man than I had known. And I perceived then that Nani had supposed that I should be thus pained, and had given dear thought to the matter. And truly she had the pot of the ointment ready, if that I did be very bad, that she rubbed me. And she gave me aid with mine armour, and afterward eased me with my garments, and surely I did be utter bruised in the body, by reason of the violence of the yellow beast man. And the maid had somewhat so tender and sweet in her eyes as she looked upon the bruisings, that I did be very happy, and to glow with contentment, and she had me to lie, and made me in comfort with the cloak so loving and grave, so that I was as a child that doth be cared of by his mother. And she did rub me very skilful and gentle for a great hour, until I was all refreshed. And in verity she was a lovely wise maid, and as the maid ministered unto me, I lay alway very restful, and harked to the low sound of the muttering of the fire-hole that did be in the bottom of the gorge, and alway I did feel as an happy child that doth be clothed in love and guided in wisdom. And presently, when that the maid had ended her dear care, she put by the ointment, and gave me her hands very dainty, that she meaned to aid me to rise, and surely when I was come again to my feet, I was all eased, and to have movement with no great pain, and truly this made me wondrous pleased, and to feel new courage, for I had been troubled that I should be so helpless, in that I did be the protector of mine own. And when I had tried my limbs, and found them to be in command and ready, I looked about for my garments, and lo! the maid brought me my spare body vest from the pouch, and had it upon her arm to give to me. But surely she denied me a moment of the vest, and stood before me, and had an admiring and wonder, very sweet and honest, because that my arms did be so great and hard with muscles. And, indeed, I did be very strong, as you have perceived, for I did be alway in affection of the exercises that were taught in the upbringing of all the peoples of the mighty pyramid, and by this explaining you shall understand that I was like to be strong. But indeed, I owed the straightness and shaping of my body to the mother that bore me. And afterward, in all my life, had I taken pride of my body to be of health and to have strength, and surely this is a matter very fit for pride, and to be told bravely and with honesty. And the admiring of the maid was very sweet to me, and in verity I did be to deceive, if that I said otherwise. And in a moment she dropped my body vest, and put out her hands to me that I take her into mine arms. And I took the maid into mine arms with a great gladness, and with somewhat of humbleness, that I was now wise good enough to hold her, for my heart was young, and I loved her very dear and youthful. And she did lie there very quiet and happy, a little, and surely I did find presently that she kissed the great muscling of my breast, very sweet and sly, where her face did be press against it. And lo, in a moment, she came free of mine arms, and gave me an aid with my garments, and afterward with mine armour. And when that this was done, she stood off from me, and she looked at me, half shy and half of sweetness and naughtiness. And she came then in a moment, and put her hands upward to my shoulders, and so stood her eyelids something down over her eyes, and did steal a little look up, this time and that. And lo! In a sudden moment, before I did what, she was to her knees before me, and did weep, and I down very swift to kneel with her. And I asked not why she wept, for I perceived that she did have joy, and glad happiness, and sweet trouble of her man, and that she did be a true woman, and one part of the woman did worship, so that she did be strangely humble and nigh to be shy, and another did love and need that she be a nigh to me, and a third to have a calm wisdom. And all did now be a tremble together in her heart. And I knew that I did be truly an hero to her, though but usual to all others. And my heart was wondrous proud and wondrous humble, so that I was in the same moment upraised and to feel dreadly unworthy. But I made no pretending to discredit myself to her, but only did resolve that I win alway her dear respect. And I did be natural and truthful of my manner, and without foolish denial of her sweet worship, for she was utter, mine own, and it did be a pitiful thing if that I seem otherwise than an hero unto her. But of you I ask kind understanding, and to call me not a thing of conceit, because that I did understand, for truly I knew my faults, even so well as you, that do know all of my going. And you, to look backward upon the love days, and to mind how that your maid did ever to make you great in manhood with her dear belief and uplooking. And so shall you conceive of all my feelings, for we do be also human in this matter, and to meet on a dear natural ground, as you will say. And truly, in a little time, mine own did be steadied, and wiped her pretty eyes, and nestled to me a while, very hushed, and to need that she be close, and I to have her gentle against mine armour, and to be in my heart, as that I did be her father and her lover in the one man, and surely to be silent and joyful that I lived. And presently I slipped her shoes from her little feet with my right hand, the while that she did rest within my left arm, and I condemned myself that I had thought not more swift to this end. But indeed I had thought upon it while that Nani rubbed me, and had intention this wise, but afterward forgat, as you shall understand, that have been with me alway. And truly, mine own did be hurt, that I say aught to my blame, and I to cease, but yet to feel reproached by my heart. And when I had looked to the maid's feet, I tied on her shoes again, and we gaped together our gear. And afterward we came down from the cave, with a great care, because that it did be so high up in the cliff of the gorge, And afterward we made downward of the gorge, and had a good care to our going, and so much of speed as we could make, that we come something off from the dark land of the lesser redoubt, so quick as we might. And in 6 hours we had gone very well, and we stopped then that we eat and drink. And afterward I looked again to the feet of the maid, and I bathed them in a great rock basin of warm water that did be anigh to the place of our eating. And afterward I put the ointment about them very thorough and gentle, and for a good while, and so she had some ease and comfort. And afterward we made onward again, but now we did go pretty easy, for I had considered the notings of mine outward journey, and so did perceive that we should be but 6 or 7 hours off that part of the gorge, where did be the slugs. And I was minded that we rest and sleep, ere that we make through that dire and dreadful place, for that we should be 12 great hours, and more, to go through, and to have no rest or pause, until that we did be safe outward again, as you shall think. And so did we need to be strong and well rested, and this to be wise also for the feet of the maid. Now surely the maid did be in delight of the fires of that part of the gorge where we were come, and she had beside a rest of the soul, in that she had feeling that there did be no evil force to trouble us to our destruction. And I bothered her not yet a while with tellings of the horrid place that we should to journey through in a while, as you do know. And so we did go, and alway with a good caution, lest that some beast or creature should come upon us, and alway with the fire-holes before and behind, and in the air of the gorge the little whistlings of steam that did spurt out in this place and that, and a good warmth in many parts, by reason of the fires, and odd whiles a smelling of sulphur, but not greatly, nor to our trouble. And alway the low muttering of the fire-holes and pits, and the red lights, and the dancing of the shadows, when that we did go by a fire-pit, where the fire did frisk and burn lively, and upon either side the grim walls of the gorge going up measureless into the night. And so we were gone presently, pretty comfortable for 6 good hours since last that we eat, and we made halt, and eat and drank, and I showed the maid how that we should make a short journey that day, and sleep, and so be ready to the horrid journey through the dark part of the gorge where the slugs did be. And we made search then, that we have a safe place to our slumber, and surely I perceived where we did be, for we came upon that same cave where I did sleep. After that I was come free of the slugs, and that we were come no farther, doth show how easy did be our present going, and this you do know. And there did be the spring where I washed, and the fire-hole anigh, and truly they were not like to be gone away, as you shall say. Yet did we exclaim, very natural, for the maid did be so deep in interest of the matters of my coming, and to be at once that no other place should serve for our rest and slumber. And, indeed, this was a natural thing, and the place so good as any, save that I did wish it had been upward unto a high place of the gorge, as you shall understand. But yet might we block the mouth part of the cave with boulders, somewise as I did before, and so to have a defence against anything that should make to enter upon our sleep, or at the least to be waked by the falling of the boulders. Now mine own went inward of the little cave, which did be very light from the fire-pit that was to the front, but before that she did go. I made a swift search of the place, that there should be no creeping thing, and truly it was sweet and free. And the maid did be strangely taken that she should come to the veritable place where once I did lie on mine outward way, and truly I do understand, and so shall many that do have these feelings about matters. And afterward we went unto the hot spring that was in the hollow of the rock, anigh to the fire-pit, and I saw that there did be no snakes, neither any of the rat things anigh. And so I had the maid to sit very comfortable on the side of the pool, and I freed her shoes, and bathed her feet, and afterward rubbed them very steady with the ointment. And so, for a good time, and always to keep a looking out upon the gorge. And presently, when that I had taken a loving care of her pretty feet, I tied the shoes again upon the maid, and so back to the cave, and the two of us to carry boulders according to our strength. And when we had a sufficient, we builded a rough and clumsy wall. After that we were gone into the cave, and the wall rose nigh to fill the mouth of the cave, and made us to be somewise in darkness, but yet to feel in safety. And I had a good heed to make the chinks of the wall very close in the bottom, so that no small creeping thing should come through unto us whilst that we slept. And afterward Nani set the scrip and the pouch to be for my pillow, but had the bundle of her torn garments to be for her own purpose. And I perceived that she had the water powder and a pack of the tablets to her hand for our waking, that she might prepare our food, and mayhap to wake a little before me, so that she have all ready to greet me from my sleep. But, indeed, I said naught to show that I knew, for I saw that this thing did give her a dear pleasure, and truly it was very sweet to have her to these gentle duties. That did be to her so sure and quiet a delight. And mine own bade me that I lie, and she put the discos upon the outward side of me, to mine hand, and with a dainty and fearful touch, for the weapon did be very dreadful unto her thoughts, but yet a comforting thing to abide for our defence. And afterward she covered me with the cloak, and kissed me very sedate upon the lips, and then to her own side, and to come very nice and happy under the cloak, and so to her rest. And presently she did sleep, as I perceived by her breathings, and surely it did seem to my spirit that she had an utter and dear content in this arranging of our slumber, so that she did be all at peace in all her being, because that she did be nigh unto me, that did be her own love. But, indeed, I could not sleep for a time, and surely in a while mine own did nestle unto me in her sleep, so sweet and dear as a child, and likewise as that it did be her right to be so anigh unto me, and I to be that I should put mine arms about her. But indeed I moved not, neither did I kiss her, as I did wish, for truly I should be very manly with mine own maid, that did be so trustful and utter mine in her sleep. And presently I was over unto slumber also, and stirred not for 8 good hours, and did wake then to the hissing of the water, so that I knew mine own was awake before me, as she had planned, and was making ready that we eat. And when she saw me move in the half-light, she gave out a little word of joy that I did be again to knowledge of her, and she came over, and put her arms about my neck, and kissed me very loving thrice upon the lips. And, in verity, it came to me in that moment that I had been kissed a while gone, in my dreams, but scarce to know it. Yet I perceived now that mine own had taken a naughty advantaging of my slumber, that she kissed me to her own pleasure. Yet did the maid say no word of her naughtiness, and I to be likewise, but to resolve that I waken, mayhaps, on the next time, and so catch her in her sweet and secret delight of me. And, truly, this doth sound quaint, but to be true. And I rose, and took down the half of the wall that did be across the mouth of the cave, and afterward looked out, but there was no sight of any horrid thing in the gorge, save that one of the rat things did slumber, very gorge seeming, upon the side of the little fire-hole. And afterwards we eat and drank, and the maid then to rub me, as before, for I was greatly stiff on my waking, as you shall think. But she came not into mine arms presently, as I did hope, but only kissed my shoulders, when that she had finished, and so bid me to dress. Yet, after that I was dressed, and had mine armour full upon me, she must come unto me, and she slipped her 2 small hands into the one of mine, and so stood by me very silent. And sudden she put up her lips, very quiet and passionate, that I should kiss her, and she kissed me once, as it did be as that her spirit kissed mine, and all her being came unto me, and she gave me but that one kiss, and afterward slipped her hands very gentle from mine, and made to the gathering of our gear. But truly, I that loved her so great, knew that a tumult of love did be hid in her heart. And, indeed, she looked once at me in such wise that I grew near to a true humbleness of heart because of the honour and love that did be in her eyes. And surely it is a very little thing to die for such an one as mine own did be. And by this saying shall you perceive my heart in that moment, and that I did pant, as it were, that I do some deed of love to show my love. And truly this is but a natural desiring and human, and the cause proper to the uplifting of manhood. And surely you shall all mind you of such feelings in the past love days, that I do pray should be never past. And when we had our gear together, I left it in the cave, and took mine own over unto the hot pool that was anigh to the fire pit. And she to exclaim upon the rat thing that did be yet a slumber upon the side of the fire pit, and I to say that the thing did be no cause for fear, but rather indeed a good friend, in that it was a devourer of snakes, as you shall mind. And while that we talked, I bathed the little feet of Nani, and surely, as I dried them upon my pocket-cloth, I was taken that I should kiss them. And surely I kissed them, and they did be very shapely and dainty, and all eased of travel by the care that I did take to this end. And afterward I rubbed them with the ointment for a good while, and so had them again into the shoes, and the maid very quiet. After that I had kissed her feet, that did be so dainty, but yet with a sweet naughtiness in her way, as my heart perceived, though she did nothing, neither said anything, to this end, and was truly very obedient and orderly to all my wishes. And we went back then to the cave, and the maid put the pot of the ointment back into the pouch, and she buckled the pouch and the scrip upon me, and the discos I had upon my hip, for I went nowise anywhere without it, as you shall suppose. And she had the little bundle of her clothing for her burden, and truly I was ready that she should carry so much, for we did be to act wisely, and she well able to carry so small a thing, and I better to have my hands alway free to the discourse and to the needs of the way. And we went downward of the gorge at a strong speed, for there did be somewise of 15 hours. Good journey, ere that we come out upon the far side of that place where the monsters did be, and this did be 3 hours to the upward beginning of that place, and 12 hours' journey then, in the least, that we should take to go through again into the light of the gorge below. And this I did reckon from my notings of mine upward journey, as you do know. And I made all clear to the maid of the thing that did be before us, and made not to hide the danger and horror, but yet to make not over much of the same. And she to walk close beside me, very sweet and trustful, and to say that she feared naught, so that I should be there to have care of her, but only that she did fear harm for me, and yet to have confidence that I should slay all hurtful things that should be like to trouble us. And, truly, I did kiss her for her dear belief and love. Now, in the middle part of the 3rd hour, the air of the gorge did begin that it was heavy, and to have a seeming of fumes that stang something upon the throat, odd whiles. And there were presently less of the fire-holes, and soon, as we did go, the more downward, the beginnings of a great gloom, and to have smoke therein that made us to feel husky. And in the end of the 4th hour we were come truly far downward within the gloom, and to be as that, we groped in a fog of distaste, and to know not how we went with any surety. For oft there did be an utter darkness about us, and a while the shine of a dull glowing fire pit upon our sight, that did show us the gloom and dread of that place. And we went alway very hushed, and the maid to my back, but I did halt now, and this time, and make to know how she did be. And surely she whispered very brave to me through the dimness, and once did slip her hand into mine, and I to take off mine armoured glove for a little moment, that I hold her hand, and give her nice assurance. But, in verity, there was terror in mine heart, that did be a terror far beyond the trouble of mine upward way. And surely I was shaken newly with every danger, lest that I should use mine own, or she, to come to any hurt. And, indeed, you shall perceive how I did be, for so should you be in a like case, and, in truth, it doth be an utter anxiousness and suffering. Now, when we had been 2 hours in the dark part of the gorge, I smelled of the dread and horrid stink that you do wot of. And surely a great fear came upon me, for I perceived that we did come among the monsters, or that one came anigh to us. And I whispered unto the maid that she halt. And we stood very hushed a while, and surely the stink did grow, and to be very dreadful in the nostrils, so that I felt mine own maid to shake somewhat with the fear and disgust that this thing did make in us. And presently the stinking did ease somewhat from about us, but whether there had gone past us a monster slug, I have no sure knowing, for there did be no fire pit anigh to that place, so that there was a great darkness all about. And surely there was a great slowness and wetness of the air, and dismal drippings that made desolation in the silence, and the feel of strange growths upon the boulders, as you do know, and oft an horrid slime and dankness, and the stink to be everywhere, so that we knew a constant disgust and fear, and all with the fumings of sulphur, that did seem in verity to beat down upon us, utter heavy and sore upon our lungs. And so went we onward amid the smell that did be as of dead things, and oft did we make pause and hark, and had a great care, as we did go by the dull fire-holes and fire-pits, that we should make no showing of ourselves in the light. And sudden, as we did go by a great pit that burned very deep and red, I reached back and caught mine own by the arm, and I set her gaze unto the right side of the gorge, which was beyond the fire. And the maid went very still, as she did see the thing that was there, for in verity it was utter monstrous, and did shine very wet-looking in the light of the fire. And truly it moved a little with the head, this way and that, stretching through the dark and the shadows, as you shall see a slug to move, and with no speed or sound, and now I seeming heedful of aught, but yet did I fear that it smelled us, if this might be, and this, as you shall think, to be a very natural fear. And alway, as I do mind, it seemed to go blindly somewise, or to have that slow and strange moving that doth make one to think of a blindness. But whether it did be truly blind, how shall I say, only that it was an utter monstrous brute, so great as the black hull of a ship, and very dreadful unto our hearts. And we moved not for a while, save that I pulled mine own down into the hiding of the boulders of that part, and she to put her hand very anxious unto me, yet not to be comforted, as I did half to think, but to persuade me, lest that I go to some adventuring that should set me in a surer danger. And this I perceived in a little moment, and loved her for her care. But, indeed, I had no mind to aught, save that we come clear of that place, and I watched the monster through places between the boulders, and surely, in a little while, it swayed the great head very slow and quiet unto the cliff that did make that side of the gorge, and the brute set unto the cliff, and began that it went upward with a strange moving of muscles that did go wave-wise under the wet and horrid gleaming hide. And so, in a little time, It was gone quiet against the cliff, and the head part did be upward in the darkness above, so that it did be from our sight. But the monster body did be plain for a great way, and was seeming clung to the cliff, and to come downward out of the dark, as that it did be a great black ridge of soft and dreadful life upon the face of the cliff, and the tail was something less bulked, and to taper, and did trail outward into the gorge upon the boulders, and surely the thing did seem as that it slept. But that odd, whiles the tail did lift a little off the boulders, and curl somewise, and afterward come down again upon the boulders, mayhap in this place, and mayhap in that place, as we did watch, all hid. And it was as that our sense and our spirits did assure us that the thing had no wotting of us. But surely our fears did nigh to equal the comfort of this sweet reason, and to make us think otherwise. Yet, in a time, I made that we go forward together through the spaces that did be among the boulders, and I went creeping, and the maid to follow likewise. And oft I did pause, and made a watching upon the monster, but truly it moved not, save as I have told, and I kept a great heed upon the maid, that she follow alway close unto my feet. And in the end we came safe from that place where the monster did be clung unto the great cliff in the night, and we went then for 2 great hours without adventure, save that once the maid touched me, that we pause, for that something went by us, where we did be in an utter dark place of the gorge, and no fire-hole anigh, and I knew that the thing did be near, even as the maid touched me. And caught I the maid in the dark, and thrust her under the side of a boulder, and I crouched then before her with mine armour, that I should protect her from any brutish thing. And the discourse in my hand, and afterward an horrid time of waiting, and the stink of that part of the gorge grew very dreadful, so that it did be as that we should not breathe with the horror of the stink. And there went past us some horrid and utter monster, that made neither sound nor anything, save that there seemed a strange noise that might be the breathing of a great thing, but yet did be all uncertain, in that the sides of the gorge cast the sound this way and that in an horrid whispering of echoes, so that we did not know whether the sound be made nigh to us, or afar upward in the eternity of the night, where I did suppose the mountains to be joined over the gorge in a monstrous roof in that part. And presently the strange noisings died in the upward height, and all about us, and the utter disgust of the stink went from us, so that we knew that the monster had gone past us, and did make downward through the dark gorge, and mayhap then to some lone and dreadful cavern of the world, as I did think. And indeed, as I do mind, I had a sudden wonder at that time, and other whiles, as it did chance, whether this way did be truly the olden way that the peoples of the lesser refuge did travel in the olden days. And surely, as I did suppose, they had come some other way, or the gorge to be different and less dreadful in the far-off years. And this thing you shall agree with me to be a reasonable thinking. And after that the monster had gone a good while, we went onward again, and with a great caution, and dreading alway lest that we come upon that monster in the darkness. But yet did we know by smell, and by all our consciousness, whether that we came nigh unto one of the monster slugs. Then, in the end of the 5th hour, in the dark part of the gorge, we came by the mouth of that great cavern upon our left, and you to remember the same. And I made pause in the darkness, and had the maid very gentle by the arm, that she should look with me. And I whispered how that I passed this place to my right upon mine upward way, and how that I did think there to be a plenty of monster caverns within the mountains that made the sides of the gorge, and that, mayhap, the slug creatures had their own home in such places, or came up, it might be, from some utter strange deepness and mystery of the great world. And the maid did bide very close unto me, and silent, whilst that I whispered, for the terror of the place did be on her, yet not to make her lacking of courage, but yet to put a monstrous awe upon her, and a great and natural fear. And I likewise, as you do know. And we stayed there, where we did be, a little moment, and looked downward into the bowels of the monster cavern, and the shine of the fire-hole beat over the cavern in the near part. But there did be an utter mystery and deathly dark beyond the shining of the pit that did be within, as you shall remember. And, in verity, as we stayed but to glance, I perceived that there lay humped things about the fire, and some to be black seeming, and some to have a seeming of whiteness, but with no sureness in the colour to mine eyes. And there came a moving in one of the humped things, so that it did be as that an hill did wake unto an horrid life. And immediately I knew that the humps did be some utter monsters, mayhaps even the great slugs, slumber above the fire-pit that did burn in that strange deeply cavern. And I saw that I did ill for our lives, that I should pause even for a little moment to such staring. And immediately I whispered to mine own that we go with all our speed, for, indeed, I knew not whether that our nearness had waked that monster, or whether that it had but waked by chance. And, truly, I was utter eager that we be gone from that place, so swift as we might. And we went on then through all of the 6th hour that we did be in the slug part of the gorge, as I named it unto myself. And in all that hour there did nothing harmful come anigh, only, as I did know presently, there came an unease upon our spirits, but yet to be very little at that time, and we to be scarce knowing of it. And alway, as we went, there did be darkness for the most, and odd whiles, a vague murmuring of the night far above, as it did seem, and presently the dull glare of a fire-pit to shine out far off below us in the gorge, and to seem very dim and unreal unto us, by reason of the smokes and the fumes that made a haze and a distaste in the gorge. And presently the murmuring of the night to grow somewhat, and, afterward, the sound of the muttering of the fire-pit to come unto us, and the murmuring to die unto our ears that did be hearing now only the dull muttering, and so we to know that the murmuring of the night did be truly the far-off muttering of the fire-hose, and our eyes to guide our hearing, and our reason to explain and knit the sounds, and so we to pass by the fire-hole with a great quiet and caution, and ever with watchfulness, as you shall suppose. And afterward again into the dark, and presently again the murmuring, to tell that we came unto another of the fire-pits, that was yet afar off in the gorge, and made dim echoes in the night. And alway we went very watchful, and in grim fear, but with steadfastness and good intention to win forth out of that desolation and horror, and having always so great a speed, as the darkness and the dangers and the trouble of the way did allow. And in this place I will make explanation why that I speak some whiles of fire-pits, and other whiles of fire-holes. For the holes did be those fires that burn nigh to the brim of the holes, but the pits were those places where the fire was deeply in the earth. And this thing I give for your enlightenment, even on a small matter, so that you shall have a clear knowledge to abide with me all the way, and you to agree of this for wisdom, and I to be pleased that you so agree. And here also I should tell that there did not come a muttering from all of the fire-holes and the fire-pits, but mayhap from this one, and mayhap not from that one, according to the way of the fire therein. And this shall be plain unto you. And so shall you see us go, and the smoke and the bitterness of the sulphur to be all about us, and odd whiles the murmuring of a far-off pit, and oft the utter silence, and to pass this time a lonesome fire-hole, and afterward the utter dark or the half-gloom, all as might chance, according to the nearness of the fires. And upward in the everlasting night the grim mountains to make a roof over us, as I did suppose. And all this while did the unease, of which I have told, make upon us, so that presently mine own whispered unto me, the thing that already my spirit did half to perceive, that there came after us through the night some harmful thing, that did be surely no great way off, as I did feel within me, and the maid to have a likeways belief. And truly I thought at once upon that brute that did wake downward in the mighty cavern, where did be the great inward fire-hole, as I have told. But whether this did be true knowledge, that we did be chased in the dark by that thing, or whether there came after us some other monster, I could have no sureness, but only that we did be chased, and of this I had assuredness. And I set the maid before me, that I have myself ready to the danger that followed, and we made forward again then, so quick as we were able, and she went very wisely, for she had good wit, and had noted the ways of my leading. And we went thus, until the end of the 7th hour. And surely, in that time, we heard the murmuring in the night, which told of a fire-hole somewise before us, and soon to have the red glare plain to our eyes, and the noise of the murmuring to die away into the nearer mutter of the fire, and so presently to be anigh, and we to make forward with a good speed, because that we feared utterly the thing that made quiet chase of us through the night. And oft I did look backward, and smelt the air, that I know whether it did be a monster, slug beast that chased us, but there did be no worseness of the smell to tell me aught. And alway I did be fretted in the heart that we could make no greater speed, but, indeed, as you shall perceive, our going did be but a slow thing in the dark places, and even thus we had many a sore tumbling and bruising. And by this we were come almost unto the fire-hole, and immediately I saw that I knew the place, for there went upward beside the fire a great jaggedness of rock, that I had seen upon mine upward way. And surely I caught the maid in an instant, and bent her, and she quick to obey with her body. And we were both immediately hid downward among the boulders. And this I did, because I minded how that there did be many of the monsters nigh to this same fire-hole, as I did go upon mine upward way. And we went forward then with an utter care, but yet to keep onward, because that there did be somewhat in chase of us. And, in verity, when that we were come opposite unto the fire-hole, I saw that there did be 7 of the monster slugs against the far side of the gorge, and did be all set upon their bellies against the cliff, and their horrid heads to be hid in the upward dark, and their tails to lie very great and soft seeming in the bottom of the gorge upon the boulders. And lo! The maid touched me, and she drew me to look upon the near cliff of the gorge, and truly there did be 3 of the brutish things laid upward there, and a 4th did be humped somewhat upon a great ledge that did be upward of the gorge, and just to be plain to our eyes. And surely it was as that we did be all surrounded by such monsters, and to make the heart sink, and fear to lie upon our hopefulness. But, indeed, the maid showed a good spirit, and I to have fierce determining that we come free of that gorge, and afterward, in time, unto our mighty home. And we made forward again, and did go creeping among the rocks and the boulders, and so came presently past that place, and had not waked the monsters, if that indeed they did truly sleep. And I made halt a moment upon the far border of the light from the fire-hole, and I looked backward up the gorge, perchance that I should see the thing that followed us. But, indeed, there came nothing out of the dark of the upward gorge, so that I knew that there did be some safe space to our backs, which did be truly a comforting thing. And here I should tell how that there was no great stinking in that place where did be so many of the slug beasts, and this to puzzle me, and, in the end, to make me think that some of those horrid things did stench more great than others. But yet I to have no certainty in this matter, as you do perceive. And truly this thing troubled me, for I had been comforted that my nose should tell me when that the thing that made chase of us should draw nigh in the darkness. And now, in verity, I knew not what to have for assurance, for the awareness of the spirit was but a vague thing, and no more in such a matter than a feeling as of an inward warning. And we went onward then for a great hour, and with an horrid unease upon us, and thrice we did go by fire pits in the darkness, and alway I made pause upon the far side of the light, that I should look backward, but did have no sight of aught, yet did my spirit or my fears warn me with new fear, and a greater sense of nearness, and the maid, to confess also to this thing. Now, we saw not any of the slugs for a long while, neither had there been any about the 3 fire holes, and the air of the gorge was grown something sweet and free, somewhat of the stench of dead-seeming things, but yet to be very bitter with fumings and smoke and sulphur stinks. And lo! in the middle of the 10th hour, as we did go, painful and with anxiousness in a very dark place of the gorge, there came unto us again the smell that told to us that one of the monsters did be anigh. And surely we had both a great fear, in that we had belief that it did be a sign that the thing that made chase did draw near upon us. But yet did I to use my reason also, and to know that the stink might be from some monster that we were come nigh to in the darkness of that place. And I whispered this unto the maid, and she to say, very hushed, that it might be so, but to have no belief, and I to be likewise, as you do see. And we pushed forward at a new speed, and had many bitter falls, so that we did be all bruised, but not to know it at that time, because that our fear did be so keen. And oft we made a little pause and harked, but there did be only the dismal drip of water from on high, and presently the murmur of the night, that told that we drew near unto a new fire pit. And surely this was a great easement to our spirits, in that we should have light to perceive our danger, and mayhap to win free. But to be in that utter dark was a thing to break the courage, and to breed belief that we did be utter helpless, and all wrapped in horror and despair. And the stink grew ever as we made forward, so that I knew not whether there did be great monsters beside the fire pit that was to our front, as I have told, or whether it made plain the advancing of the pursuer. And we only to be able to make our best speed, and to be weary with hope that we rush not blind into death, and always to be chilled in the back with the belief that the thing that made chase did be very close in that utter dark, and to gain upon us. And we knew not whether to make our belief to be the tellings of the Spirit, or the utterings of our fears. And so shall you perceive our plight, and we but to be able to make forward. And in verity the dreadfulness of that time doth shake me now to think upon. And you also, if that you have gotten my tellings to your hearts, so that your human sympathy doth be with me. And there came presently to our ears the far mutter of the fire pit, so that very soon the murmuring was lost to us in the night, and only the slow mutter to be plain. And the dull looming of the fire shone afar off through the night and the smoke and fumings, and we to a great speed, and to pant with fear, but yet with a freshness of hope again to sweeten us. And we came nigh to the fire pit, and lo! the smell did be grown very drear and foul, but there did be no slug beast near the fire. And by this we perceived that we did be truly in an utter danger, in that the pursuer did be upon us, and the stinking to tell this to be truth, and our spirits to have warned us very strong and proper. And I stopped near to the fire pit, which did be great, and very red glowing, and I looked upward of the gorge, into the night of the gorge that we did come from, but the monster was not yet upon us to work our death. And I looked to the sides of the gorge, and the maid to have the same thought that did be mine, that we climb the mountains that made the sides of the gorge. And I looked very keen first to this side, and then did run overward, that I look more close upon the other, and afterward back again, for it did seem that we should have a greater ease upon the side that we did be. And I asked the maid whether that she did be prepared, and she to be very white and wearied, and all besmirched with the dankness and growths upon the boulders, and the hidden pools of the gorge, and the dripping of the waters, but yet did she be sound in her courage, and to show that she had all belief and abiding in me, and her judgment likewise to be with mine, in that her own reason did approve. And I took the bundle of her torn clothing from her, for it did be at her girdle, and like to trouble her movings, but she to refuse, very determined, in that I did be already overburdened. And I to be firm in my deciding, and to make her to yield the bundle, the which I hooked unto the hold of the discourse, where it did be to mine hip, and the maid to be there, a little figure, and white in the face, and strangely angered, and her anger mixed with hidden acknowledgment that I did be her master, and half to be minded that she move not from where she did stand, and part to be reasonable and fearful of the hidden beast, and in part also to thrill in her womanhood unto the man that did be so masterful unto her, and all to pass in a little moment, and we to be to the gorge side, and busied very eager to the climb. And the maid to be first, as I did heed, and I to follow, and have constant looking to the task and to her safety, and alway to be bitter anxious for our speed to be good, and to be anxious the more then, lest that mine own should slip, for there did be an horrid wetness upon the sides of the gorge, as you shall have guessed, and horrid growths that blotched the great rocks mightily, and made an utter slipperiness, if that they did be trod upon, and we to have to come so clear of all such matters as we might, and yet to be speedy for our lives, and likewise to lack no care and thought to the setting of our hands and of our feet in places fitted to the lifting of our weight. And truly you shall see that we went very desperate, and I to give word to the maid that she look not downward, the which I was urgent upon, lest that she'd come giddy in the heart. But I, as you shall think, could scarce to keep from fearful peerings below, so that I learned speedy whether the pursuer did come yet into the light of the fire-hole beneath. And presently the maid did gasp, very weak and troubled with the soreness of the climb, and I came higher, and set mine arm about her, as we did be there upon the face of the cliff, and she stopped very still a little while, and an ease did come to her, and an assurance of safety. And surely I kissed her there where we did be in that upward place, and her lips did tremble unto mine, and her courage and strength to come back into her, so that in a minute she did make once more to the climbing. And we came presently to a place where a great ledge did be, that jutted out from the mighty cliff, and was surely a huge way above the gorge bottom. And the ledge sloped, and there were on the ledge great stones and boulders that did make lodgment there through eternity. And I looked very careful to our way, and saw that we did be in the path of a mighty rock that was over nigh unto the edge of the shelf place, and did put fear upon me, in that it seemed that it should come down with great thundering upon us, if that we but shook the place where it did be. And I caught the maid very swift and gentle, and shaped our path unto one side of that great rock, and did presently lose my fear, when that we did come safe from under it. And in a minute after we were come upward upon the ledge, and a very safe place it did seem, and surely as that no monster should be able to come upward upon us. And this I did try to make for comfort unto ourselves, but that we both to know how that the great slugs could lie up against the sides of the gorge, and surely it did be like that they should be able to come upward clear of the gorge, and so to the place where we made to have safety. And I had no thought to deny this thing, when that it was clear to my brain, but set rather that we should have some way to fight the monster, if that we did be discovered. And I thought in a moment upon the stones that did be about, and the maid in the same moment cried out that we should push the big rock down upon the slug that we believed to have chase of us, and indeed the rock to be a great weapon, if we could but stir it, as you shall think. And alway, as we talked, very hushed, we looked downward into the deepness of the gorge, unto the upward end of the firelight. But there came no thing yet unto our knowledge, only that the stinking did rise up to us through that great distance, and the fire-pit to seem now a very small burning, and to give no great light up to us, and we neither to be able to see very clear of the gorge bottom, in that the haze of the fumes and the smoke was in the air of the gorge, and made uncertainty, and we to be nowise proper free of the smoke, even where we did be. And we watched, very set with anxiousness and fearful expecting of the monster, and did be both yet lost of breath. And the maid, that she made her words something broken for a little while. And lo! in a moment Nani cried out very low and sharp that the thing did come, and I to see a moving of somewhat, in the same instant, in the gorge that lay upon the upward side of the fire-pit. And immediately I saw the great and monster head of the beast come forward into the shine from the pit, and the head did be of a blotched white, and to have the eyes upon great stalks that came from the forward part of the head, and the stalks to be set downward, so that the eyes looked upon the bottom parts of the gorge. And surely this doth be very horrid seeming to the mind of this age, but yet to have a less strangeness unto the two of us that had seen many horrid sights, as you do know. And as the monster came forward the more into the light, I saw that the great and utter mighty bulk did be all of that same whiteness, that did be so set over with blotchings and a seeming of unhealth. But truly the colour was proper to a creature that did abide in so great a darkness, as you shall say. Yet had those slugs that we did see been black and shining, for the most, as I have told, and this to be as I saw, and I not to heed here, that I try unto explainings in this place, else should I be never eased of my task, as you do see. And the monster slug came onward, and as it did go, it set the stalks of the eyes in among the boulders, as that it did search, swayed now this way, and now that way, from side to side of the gorge, and alway it pushed the stalks of the eyes inward among the boulders, and so to go forward searching. And truly it was very dreadful to see the thing make search for us, and to go so steadfast to so dread a purpose. And indeed I saw it not so plain as might be, because of the haze of the fumes, and the smoke that did lie in the air of the gorge, as I have told, and made something vague, the sight at this time and that. But yet we did both see a strange thing, for when that the great white body did become half into the light, the slug beast set out a big tongue among the boulders. After that it did peer thereunder, and the tongue did be very long, and white, and something thin seeming, and the monster lapped inward in a moment, a great snake from among the boulders, and the tongue did hold upon the snake, as that there did be surely teeth or roughness upon the tongue, but yet the distance to be too great for any surety of the sight, as you do know, and moreover there did be the uncertainty of the haze within the air, and the slug took the snake inward, all as it did, lash and wriggle, and swallowed it in a moment, and, in verity, that snake did be a big and horrid creature, else had it been not so plain to our sight. But it did be as a worm unto the monster, and gone instant. And immediately the slug beast went again to searching, and the head to sway from this side unto that side of the gorge, and by the wideness and ease of this swaying shall you perceive the utter greatness of the beast. And alway, as it did come downward of the gorge, it thrust the stalks of the eyes inward among the boulders, looking all ways, and oft the breath did come from it, as a cloud, and the stink to rise up unto us, very plain and an abomination. And again, we saw the beast set the tongue in among the boulders of the gorge bottom, and it licked forth a snake that did seem so thick as a man in the body, and the snake to thrash in the great white tongue, and to be immediately drawn inward and gone utter. And surely, as the thought did stir in me, there did be a great mercy over us, in that we did not die by such a serpent in some dark and horrid place of the gorge. But yet, as it is like to be, mayhap the snakes did be only a nigh to the fire-holes. Yet doth it be anywise a wondrous thing that we had come so free of them. Alway, and truly to learn, was to be given a new terror. Now the monster was come fully into the shining of the fire-pit, and was upon this side, and the fire to make a shining against the side of the slug, so that odd whiles I did perceive very plain the huge wrinklings and muslings of the skin, as the beast made onward. And alway it did search, thrusting in the eye-stalks among the boulders, and sudden it may pause, and did begin, that it brought all the mighty body together, and humped itself, and brought the head part round unto the bottom of the cliff that made this side of the gorge. And it gathered itself, and afterward did lengthen upward against the cliff, and begin to climb. And lo! I saw that the beast did scent of us, and made to come upward to destroy us. And as the mighty hill of the body did come into length against the great cliff side, the beast set the eye-stalks into this cave and that, as it did go, and into all crannies, and so lengthened upward very straight and monstrous and dreadful unto us, and did be as a white and mildewed hill that had an horrid life, and the stink to come up, so that we did be like to lose our breath with the dreadfulness of it, as you shall think. And surely, for a moment, I looked unto the rocks upon the ledge, and this way and that way, and upward, unto the everlasting darkness that did be above us, and again unto the great rock that did seem to quiver upon the edge, as I have told. And I was grown utter desperate in a moment, for, truly, it did seem in that instant that there did be no power in the world that should slay so utter mighty a monster. And immediately, even as I did despair, I had run very swift unto the great rock, and the maid with me, both very strained and shaken with the horror of the thing that did make upward unto us so sure and intent. And I set my strength unto the rock, and heaved, but indeed the rock gave not from the place where it did be, so that I had a dreadful despair, for I saw that it did be more secure than had seemed. And the maid lent her strength unto mine, and we heaved together with sore pantings and little cries to guide our endeavours, and because we could not be contained in that moment. And surely it seemed that the great rock moved, and lo! As we strove together to the task, there came a vast and sudden grinding, and the rock to cease from our shoulders, and to be gone from us, or scarce we did wot of the happening. And the rock went over, and rushed downward upon the monster, and with mighty crashings, as it did grind and crush the face of the cliff-side with a quick and constant thundering. And I caught the maid, as she did stagger upon that dire upward edge, because that she had set her strength so utter to the endeavour, and the rock to be gone so sudden, as you do see, and she to be like to follow after. And she clung unto me, and I, to hold her very safe as I looked down upon the falling of the rock. And behold, the great rock smote the monster in the humped part of the back, below of the head, and did enter into the monster, even as a bullet doth strike, and was gone instant from my sight into the vitals. And there came a mighty sound of anguish from the monster, and the monster did loosen from the cliff, and to crumple, as it did seem, and sink backward. And a great steam of dread breathing to go upward from the beast, and a reek. And it made again the strange and horrid noise of pain, and the gorge, to be yet full of the echoes of the rock thundering. And with the noise of the rock there was now mingled the horrid sounding of the death-crying of the beast, and the gorge to be filled with dull and dreadful echoings, as that 100 monsters died in this place, and that of the darkness in the gorge, and all to be bred of the noise of that mildewed hill, a-dying. And the echoes ceased, not for a while. Even after that the monster did be utter quiet, for truly they came presently from far upward and downward of the gorge, out of all the eternity of the night, and to be as that they came backward very faint, out of lonesome miles, and out of the strange deepness of unknown caverns of the world. And so in the end to silence, and the far bottom of the gorge to be filled with a white and horrid hill, very dreadful, and that did yet quiver to show the slowness of death, and alway a dreadful reek and stinking to fill all the air, even unto the height, as of the grave. And I stood upward in that far high place, and held the maid very strong and tender, and she to have covered her ears from that dreadful crying, and to be yet shaken with the greatness and horror of the dying of the monster, and the nearness that she did come unto falling, as you have seen. And presently she came less to tremble, and did weep very easeful, even as a babe doth weep, and I, mayhap, to be not over steady, as you shall think, but yet to have a great gladness set in my heart, and a triumph, and an utter grace of thankfulness. And I held mine own, very tender and sure, as I did say, and she very soon to be eased of her trouble, and the shock to be something gone from her. And she looked up at me, and slipped her arms upward about my neck, and pulled me downward unto her, that she might kiss me. And we to talk then of the going down, and surely this did seem a great and dangerous task, for truly we had come upward pretty easy in the excess of our fear, but how we might go down, with our blood cool, I did be all in doubt. Yet, before that we did aught else, I led the maid upward onto the safe part of the ledge, and we sat there, very quiet and weary, and she did be leaned against me. And we eat, each of us, 2 of the tablets, and I to scold and coax, mine own to this end, and she to obey, and to be better afterward, because that she had eat. And we drank some of the water, and did rest a time longer. And presently our courage and strength was come back into us, and we packed the scrip again, and the maid set it fast to my back, and we went then to the edge of the shelf, and looked downward, this way and that, and surely there did be no way to go, save the way we came, only that we might shape our downward climbing, to bring us a little below that place where the dead monster did be. And I saw by mine own heart, and by the paleness of the maid, that we should do well that we consider the thing no more, but make to the task. And I went immediately over the edge of the shelf upon my belly, and I bade Nani to follow. And we began then that we go downward, and, in verity, we went downward for, mayhap, a great hour. And I gave help alway unto mine own as I could, and she to come after me very brave, and made that she hold back her fear, and come downward of that cliff, that did be oft like to a mighty wall. And surely, even as we came down, I marvelled how we did ever go upward, even though fear did aid us. But, indeed, I do think it doth be easier to climb safely than to come backward, for this is how I have found. And we made rest thrice upon ledges of the cliff, and afterward came downward again, and alway very slow, and with exceeding heed where our hands and our feet did go, that we slip not suddenly to our death. And once, as I did see, the maid was lost of all her strength, and did be going to fall, because that she did be all gone into a sudden weakness of the head in an instant, and she did be silent, even in that moment, the which doth be marvellous unto me, and to give me a strong pride of her, as you shall understand, if that ever you have loved. And surely I came upward in a moment, that little space that was between, and had mine arm about, mine own very swift, and held her hard and fierce against the cliff. And this I did, that she should feel how that she could never fall, and immediately her strength and her dear courage came back into her, and I kissed her there against the mighty cliff, and afterward she did have power again to come downward safe. And presently we were come to the gorge bottom, and maybe 100 paces down the gorge from that place where did be the dead monster, all sunk into an ugly and horrid heap, so great as a small hill. And a dreadful stinking did hang in all that part of the gorge by reason of the slug, and signs of disgust, as you shall think, and the great and mildewed body of the thing yet to settle and twitch, as I did look, as it did come properly unto death in all that mighty bulk. And everywhere the skin of the beast did be set into great wrinklings, and horrid blotchings to be upon the improper whiteness thereof, and truly I did be in haste that I turned the maid away from that thing, and that we haste downward of the gorge. And we went then for 2 good hours, and alway I did hearten the maid, and she to go very hushed and trustful by me, but truly I did be in an anguish of heart, because that I was newly aware that there did be such great and dreadful serpents in that part of the gorge, as you do also know, and I was not over feared for myself, but for the maid that did have no armour to protect her dear body. And because that I was so set with this trouble, I took the maid presently into mine arms, that I carry her, and so to have her clear of aught that should lie among the boulders. And, in verity, mine own did show an anger very surprising and determined, for I said not why I should carry her fearing to give her a greater unease, but only that she did be weary, and I very strong and willing. And, indeed, I could not bring her to reason without I told her, which was not mine intent, for she did refuse me to carry her, and said that truly I had need of no added burden unto my labours. And when she saw that I would not be moved by her reasonings, she made to win upon me by her loving ways. But, indeed, I only kissed her, and went forward with her in mine arms. And she half naughty, that I did be so heedless of her wishings, and somewise hurt also, and so to be silent in mine arms, yet mayhap to be something stirred in her nature, that I did be steadfast to mine intention, despite that her will did be contrary. And this I do believe to be truth, because that afterward I do think that she lay there in mine arms, only as a woman that doth be in the hands of her master that hath all her love. And in this wise we went forward. And in the end of the 2 hours that we did go, there was come the end of the dark part of the gorge, and we to be outward of that mighty roof of the mountains, as I do think it to have been, and the air to be free of the stink of the monsters, and the fire-holes to be very plenty, and their smokings to go upward very proper, so that we had no more the bitterness of their fumings in our throats. And there did be a pretty good light, to go by the contrast of the past hours, and I set mine own again to her feet, and made that she keep to my rearward, so that if there did be any serpents to our path, they should come first under my feet, and this wise to work no harm to me because of mine armour, neither to Nani, mine own maid. Now by this time it was somewhat of 19 great hours since we did sleep, for we had been a long while making that we come safe from the slug, and, indeed, we had come downward with a less speed than I did, go through upon mine upward way, as you shall mind, and this to be, that mine own did not have the hard strength that was in my body to the enduring of great labour and stress, and this surely all to be plain unto you that have been with me in all my journey. And, moreover, there must be kept to mind the 3 hours that we had gone, ere we were come proper into the dark part of the gorge, and so all to be remembered unto you, and also you to mind, that we did be wakeful a time, ere that we set forward upon that day's journeying, and we did go almost in joyous wise, because that we were come safe out of that dreadful place, and surely, odd whiles I did feel the hands of mine own naughty one to be hooked very pretty and sly into the backward part of my boat, as that she did make a pretending that she drive me before her, and surely this doth be a strange thing to tell upon, for there did be no knowledge of the olden horse in all the eternity of that dark world. But yet, maybe, some dear olden memory dream did set her hands unconscious to this pretty work. And, in verity, once I turned very sudden and had her swift into mine arms, as she did pretend to drive me, and she to laugh with a sweet and joyous gurgle against mine armour, and I to heed that I hurt her not, because I did be like an iron man that should put arms about a tender maid, and we looked alway now for a place that should be proper to our rest and to our sleep. And when it did be close upon the end of the 20th hour of that journey, the maid showed me a cave that was, mayhap, 50 good feet upward in the right side of the gorge. And I looked about, and saw that there did be 2 fire holes anigh, and a warm spring to make a basin of water that did lie between the fires, and all very well set to our need, as I did perceive. For, indeed, we did be utter besmirched with the filth of the slug part of the gorge, and to need that we be nice and fitly washed, before that we have any comfort of ourselves. And I bade Nani to wait a little minute, and I looked well up the gorge, and well down the gorge, and lo! there did be no thing to set me in unease, and I told mine own that she keep a sharp and steadfast watching, and not to heed me. And this I said, because I knew she did be like otherwise, to look at me and be over anxious, as I go upward to the cave, and, indeed, she to be better anyway in watch of the gorge, and to cry out to me if that anything came anigh, whilst that I went upward. And I made upward to the cave, and was come there pretty quick, and truly did be good for our purpose, and fresh seeming, and dry, and to have no holes that I could see for the hiding of creeping things. And I called down gently to the maid that the cave did be proper, and she to show her gladness, and to be looking upward at me, instead of the way of the gorge, as I set her. And truly she did be a dear and human little maid, and utter mine, so that I did find a new joy in each small lack of wisdom. And this just so much as that she had done a wondrous proper thing. And truly you shall say there was some properness to her heart, in that she could abide not but to watch me. And I went quickly down to mine own, for there was alway an unease upon me, save when I did be nigh to her, in chance of trouble. And when I was come down to her, the maid did be seeming a little in thought, and afterward showed me how that she did be, all in a pitiful disgust of the dirt and slime and the drippings of the gorge, that did be on her, and had made her garment utter wet and bemeared, so that she did feel that her very body was a repulse unto her. and I saw how it did be with Nani. And I went to the warm pool, and felt that it did be not over hot, and afterward found the deepness, by the handle of the discos, and this to be scarce of 3 feet, and the water very clear to show me the bottom, so that it was surely a nice and proper place to be for such a purpose as I did think. And I set some of the water to my mouth, using my hand, and truly there did seem no hurtful chemical in the water, and therefore was I eased that the maid should have the desire that I did see to be in her mind. And I saw that I should be helpful to mine own, if that I make the arranging of things to be in mine own hands. And I went back unto the maid, and told her that the pool was very nice to be for a bath place, and that she to haste to wash herself, whilst the gorge did be free of any creature or monster. Now I saw that Nani was troubled, and feared that I did be going to leave her, and yet did be paused a little in her words to show me all that she did wish. And surely I stooped and kissed her, as she did look so wistful in her little puzzlement, and immediately I removed her trouble very natural, and told that I should stand guard anigh to her the while that she bathed. And truly she did be at ease on the moment, and mayhap something surprised to know wherefore she had been, something alack to ask me. But, in truth, it did be very natural, and I told her to be so quick as she might, which was a needless thing to say, yet to start her, and she to go quietly to obey me, but first to take the cloak out of the hold upon my shoulders, and to unfold it, and so to the pool. And I to stand with my back thatwards, and to lean, ready, upon the discos. And presently she did be in the water as I knew, and I to be her man, very sure and gentle to her and sedate. And truly, as you shall think, I did love that I be to stand guard to her in her dear maidenhood, and she, after that, she was cheered and warmed by the delight of the water, to sing very low and happy to herself, where she did be to my back. And, sudden, the singing to cease, and the maid screamed, and I to have no thought of improper modesty, but turned instant to the maid. And in a moment I saw what did trouble her, for there came a serpent out of the water, and the maid to be all adrift with natural modesty, and with her fear of the serpent. And I was come into the pool in a moment, in mine armour, and did lift the maid, naked and wet, into mine arms, and had her instant from the water, and upon the side of the pool, and there I wrapped the cloak about her, and ran very quick, and killed the serpent, as it did go offwards among the boulders. And surely it did be so thick as mine arm, and to have come from some hole that did be hid in the bottom of the pool. And I came back then to mine own, and took her into mine arms, and set the cloak well about her. And she to cry, and to tremble with the shock and disturbance of the thing, but soon to be eased, and ready to laugh with me. And so she was come proper to her happiness again, and I very gentle and joyous with her, for truly my heart had been sick, that she had come so nigh to that horrid danger. And I eased the scrip from me, and opened it, and made her to take 2 of the tablets, and she to refuse to eat, save I company her also. And indeed I did be very willing, for truly my belly was alway empty, and she to be very glad to eat, because she did be clean now, and to have no more disgust of herself. And afterward we drank some of the water, and soon we did be finished, and she to ask for her girdle that I did give her with the knife, as I have surely told, and she belted the cloak very graceful about her, and looked very dear and pretty, with her little bare feet, and her hair very lovely upon her shoulders. For she did wear alway in the gorge the lining of my headpiece, and so had her hair dry and sweet. And, in verity, I did mind now, how that she did look very beautiful in her bath, as I had gone to succour her from the snake, and I to be nicely wholesome in this remembering, because of my love, but yet to be knowing that I was sweetly stirred to new things, and did not know before that a maid looked in the same moment so holy and so human. And afterward, in odd whiles, I remembered, but never to think over much, because that I did feel inwardly that I should be gently wise in such things, and you, to understand my heart in this, if that ever you have loved. And surely the maid brought me from my dreamings very sensible, in that she had me to stand, and she was gone about me very swift and natty with her pretty fingers, that she eased me of mine armour. And afterward she bade me to strip and wash, whilst that she keep watch for me of the gorge. And she took the discourse, and leaned upon it, very brave and proper, but yet, as I do think, with somewhat of roguishness within her, very deep hid, and scarce known unto herself. And I warned her to be very wise with the great weapon, for it did fit only to fight in my hands, and did belike to cause harm to any that should meddle with it or make to use it, save me. And Nani to nod that she did hear me, and to be half in fear of the thing, and half to feel that it did be friendly to her, and so to stand guard for me, and truly to seem a very sweet and slender maid, despite the bigness of the cloak, and the great weapon to seem more great in her small hands, and to mind me how strong I did be. And surely you shall think me in conceit, but truly I did be glad to be so strong, and a proper thing for pride, if that there be no scorn for others therein. And you, to agree with me in this thing, or to be lacking of sympathy and good human understanding. Now I washed me, not by going down into the pool, for indeed I did not wot whether there be any more snakes hid there in some other hole. And the way I washed was that I dipped my headpiece into the hot pool and poured the water over me, and rubbed my body very strong with my hands. And there to be, surely, some certain chemical in the water that aided mine efforts, for the water went very smooth under my hands. And when I was done, I washed my pocket-cloth very speedy in the pool, and wrung it, and did then wipe my body so dry as I should, and afterward I wrung the cloth again, and set it about my loins, and so to be as proper as I might. And I did call to the maid that I was proper, and she to come then and kiss me. And she gave back to me the discourse, and set me that I stand anigh to the nearer firehole, and so to be that I should guard her, and in the same time become free of the chill of the gorge, which was not great in that place. And surely I did mean that I help her, but she would have no help in her work, that she did say to be her glad right, but bade me that I to mine own work to be her dear protector, as she did call me. And I to lift that wilful one into mine arms a moment, and to give her a very loving hug, and for that time to have no fear that I harm her, because that I was freed of the hardness of the armour about me, as you do know. And surely she to feel very dear and pretty in mine arms, and she kissed me the once with a little passion of love, and immediately to want to go from me, so that I freed her in a moment, as was ever my way. And she then to pause a small space off from me, and looked at me with a light in her eyes, and half to put out her arms that she be taken again into mine, but so to cease ere she yield to her heart, and turned from me immediately to the task of the washing. And she took first my body vest, and washed it very quick and clever in the pool, and afterward came over by me, and spread it upon the hot flat rock anigh to the fire-hole. And she got then my changed body vest from the bundle of her torn garments, where she did put it to be washed on opportunity, even as now, and mayhap to like that it should lie in her bundle with her own garments, for so, as I do mind, the thought came to me very natural. But she to say naught to lead me thus, yet to be a very honest and dear maid, and to have little secret ways of love, as I did perceive, That I did not be told of. And she washed the second body vest, and set it to dry by the first, and afterward did likewise with all my garments, and came then to the washing of her own. And lo! As she spread it also to the drying, it came to mine heart that the maid did have only this one rough and thick garment, that did be the armour suit, as I have told. And surely it did be dreadful that she have the hardness of that strong knitted and fibrous garment to be next to her dear body, and I to be in comfort with the softness of my body vest. And I was all angered in a moment that she had gone this wise, while that I had been gentled, as it might be. And I bade Nani take the second vest to her own use when it did be dry, and she to look upward from where she did turn the garments upon the hot rock, and to mean in the first to deny me. But indeed she was quick to see that I did be truly in anger, and mine anger to come, because that I was hurt, that this did be, and because that I was shamed that she had gone so rough-clad, the while that I had no thought to the matter, and moreover because that she had known her lack, and did not tell me of the thing. But yet I did have a great tenderness in the backward part of mine anger, because that I perceived all the unselfishness and delight of her love that did be about this little matter, as you shall see, if you have gone alway with me. But mine anger yet to be something hard, because I did see that I have need to watch the maid, that she put not her dear body to pain, that I might come unknowing to some little pleasuring or ease, as did be now as I have shown. And truly it did be sweetly done in love, but to be somewise lacking of judgment, and so shall you know somewhat of the way that I did be angered, and to have understanding with me. But if you have not, you shall think it to be naught, and that the maid did need only that she be kissed, and to be shaken a little in playfulness, and warned to heed that I did be earnest, and mayhap you to be somewise right, and not to guess far off from the inward deepness of my heart. But yet it doth be verity that I was truly angered, and fit to shake mine own, and in the same moment to be utter tender unto her. And surely this doth be all a contradiction, and the human heart to be a wayward thing, whether it doth be of a man or of a woman. And Nani, as I do think, to have loved the chafe of that rough garment for love's sake, and to go very humble and loving as I looked at her, but in verity to be never gone from the sweet naughtiness that did be alway in her heart, and to plan even in that moment some new and secret service unto me, that should be for her quiet joy, and to be hid from me, until that my wit should come upon it to uncover it. And in verity a young man doth want that he whip his maid and kiss her, and all in the one moment. And indeed he to have delight in both. And she obeyed me that time, as alway when I did be earnest, without more word. And surely that naughty one did know how I loved her. And the maid washed then her torn garments that did be in the bundle, and had gotten soiled by the slime of the dark part of the gorge. And she put these to dry, and afterward washed mine armour, and the scrip, and the pouch, and the cloak-hold, and all such matters of our gear, and so to be presently done. And she was heedful then that she turned the garments upon the hot rock, and afterward did attend to my bruisings. And when she did rest, I looked to her pretty feet, and rubbed them very gentle and constant with the ointment, and surely they did be pretty well. But I to like that I should tend them, and to have joy to feel their littleness within my palms, and surely she did know how it did be with me, for presently she took her feet inward under the cloak, and I, maybe, to look something woeful, for she put one out presently, when that I did the least expect, and slipped it very cosy into my hand, and surely I kissed her naughty toes, and she then to be very sedate. Now, presently, when Nani found the garments to be proper dry, She gave those to me that were mine, and bid me to turn my back and be dressed very speedy. And lo! in a little time, when I was nigh done, she came over and stood before me, and was dressed again in the armour suit, and to look very slender and dainty. And she looked at me, so that I put out my hands, that I kiss her. But she went from me very proper, and brought mine armour, and gave me help with it, and alway very grave and quiet, but yet to have naughtiness underneath, as I did believe. And when I was full armed, she took my hand, and set mine arm about her waist, and she leaned her head against my breast, and put up her lips to be kissed, as that she did be a child maiden. Yet when I kissed her, she did be a woman, and to kiss me very dear and loving, and to look at me then from under her eyelids, and sudden to make a dainty growling, and to pretend that she did be a fierce thing that should be like to eat me, and I to be utter feared, as you shall think, and to be scarce able that I kiss mine. Own pretty fierce one, because that I did love so hearty, and to be so taken with a surprise that the maid did show this new playfulness, and in the same moment to be stirred and waked anew, that she did be so lovely and graceful in mine arms, and to make her naughty growling so pretty that I did be eager that she make it again, but she to do this playing only as her mood did stir her. And she made then that she would go from me, and I to loose her as ever, and she bade me that I guard her the while that she washed the outward part of the cloak, for the inward did be clean, and the cloak proof to water, but the outward part to be something needful of washing. And surely, when this was made clean, it dried very quick, because that the water went not into it. And whilst that it dried, I gave mine own an aid upward unto the cave, and afterward I passed up the gear and the cloak when it did be dry. And so came upward also myself, and brought with me a boulder, that I balanced very light in the mouth of the cave, so that it should fall, if that anything touched it, and this plan you do know of, for I used it before, as I have told. And truly we did be utter wearied, and the time to be something beyond 23 hours, since last we had slumber. And the maid had the scrip, and the pouch set to be for my pillow, and the bundle of her torn garment to be for her own, and she to have me to my pillow, and to tuck the cloak about me, and the discus to my hand, and afterward to kiss me very sedate upon the lips, and then to come in under the cloak, with a quiet and lovely happiness, as I did know, and to be gone to slumber very content and sweet. And I waked 8 good hours after, with the fizzing of the water in mine ears, and lo! mine own did be waked, and to make ready our breakfast, and I came upward upon mine elbow, to see whether that the boulder did be unmoved, and indeed it was not touched. And mine own saw that I was come awake, and she ran to me, very dear and glad, and kissed my lips very eager and loving. And surely, as she kissed me, I did feel that she had taken again a naughty advantaging of my slumber, and had kissed me as I did sleep. But truly I said no word of my thoughts, for I did mind that I should wake sudden one time, and so to catch her in this, and to call her then mine own, and that she did be a rogue, and all, as you shall know, that have loved. And I scolded the maid a little, in that she had not waked me, but I said not, that I would attend to the duties that she did heed to, for I knew that she had joy of these things, in that she did love to do aught that should be done unto me. And when I scolded her, she to make but a little mouth at me, as we do say, and to put her tablets to my lips, that I kiss them, and she to kiss mine, and so to our breakfast. And when we were done, we gate together our gear, and went downward from the cave, and began again to journey. And we went 18 hours that day, and eat and drunk at every 6 hour, as ever. And in the 14th hour I perceived that I did be like to over-travel the maid, though I made alway to have a less speed than did be natural unto me. And surely then I took her up into mine arms, and she to refuse, and to be troubled that I should so carry her, for she did think that I was like to be wearied by the task, and I to take no heed to her protestings, but to laugh gently with her, and to carry her even as a babe in mine arms, and she to love that she be in mine arms, if but she be able to have assuredness that I come not to weariness through her. And truly it did be a dear love task, and to be set unto the needing of mine especial heart. And I carried mine own, then, for 4 hours, and in the 18th hour we were come to that part of the gorge where did be the ledge where I killed the spider, ere I slept, as you shall mayhap to mind. And here I aided the maid to climb, and we had the same ledge that night to be our refuge, and did sleep very happy and unharmed, and alway with our spirits set to warn us, if that harm did make, to come nigh to us. And we went then through 3 days of 18 hours' journey each, and alway I did carry mine own, from the 12th unto the 18th hour of each journeying, and this to be very dear unto me, and to give me a new rejoicing that I did be strong and easy to carry. Mine own, and she, to lie in mine arms very content, when that she perceived how that I did be so glad to go this wise, and that I had no weariness by the carrying. And thus I did rest her feet, and wore not her dear and slender body overmuch with the vigour of my going, and was able to make a very good speed. And mine own, this time and that, to make sayings of impudence unto me, and to hide her naughty lips, when that I should kiss them, and to have quaint nestlings unto me, and odd whiles to kiss me very dainty, when that I did be going thoughtful of the way. And surely never did there be so dear a maid as mine own, so that I did go many a mile, and to be scarce that I knew that I was gone any way, because of the stirrings of my heart and the content of my spirit. And oft as we did go, there were great scorpions in the path, and odd whiles they to have no heed to go from my way, but to be so great as my head, and very fat and lazy, so that surely I kicked a good number from my path, even as you shall kick a ball with the foot. And 3, I burst in this way, and truly it did be well that I had on me mine armour, else had they been like to sting me very quick unto death, for they were so great. And likewise in this place and that there were snakes, but none to come anigh to me, and I to choose alway the open goings. For I did think there to be many hid snakes, and lesser monsters in the dark places between the great boulders. And alway when the maid did walk, I to go before, that I see clear her way, and this thing to be but a matter of wiseness, as you shall think. And odd whiles, as I did carry mine own, she to talk a little with me of her memory, dreams of the olden days, and mayhap you to think it strange that we said not overmuch on this wise, but the way of our journey to have been so utter bitter, as you have seen, and we to be more of that far age, than we did be of this present age, and this present life to seem but a dream of memory, and we to be set then with the realness of that life, and this telling indeed to be a plain thing to your understanding. Yet did we have a greater talk to these ends, when that we were come free of the gorge, but yet oft there to be an odd saying and a sweet memory, like to an olden and forgot fragrance of dreams, to pass between mine own and me. And do you, to set your sympathy of understanding with me in this thing, and to know how holy these things did be, and far off, and to hold memory, as a mist that doth shine with golden lights, that did make an holy pain upon the eyes of the spirit, even as a quiet dawn of this day doth set a pleasure of vague pain upon the heart. And once, as I did carry the maid, I saw that she wept a little, very hushed unto herself, and I to say naught. For I saw that it did be a natural sorrow for her father, and for the dead peoples of the lesser redoubt, that did be left for ever unto the desolation of eternity. And so, because I did be wise to leave her be, she to be eased presently, and to wipe her eyes quiet and secret, and mayhap to think that I did not perceive, and then to nestle unto me, and so to be the more mine own. And about the middle part of the second day, we came past the cave where I did sleep on the upward journey, and I to tell Nani, and she to look upward to the cave, and to wish that she might come a moment into it, only that it did be 20 good feet upward, and I to desire that she run no risk of her dear life, when that there did be no need. And so to go onward, and odd whiles to see strange things lurk among the boulders, but none to come anigh to us. Yet did I keep the discourse very ready in my hand, as you shall think, and had mine eyes always to look upon every side, and mine ears to be wary, and to use my spirit alway to mine aid. And surely, as we did come lower in the gorge, the maid was all a-wondered at the warmness that did grow, and something disturbed in the first by the new thickness, as it did seem, of the air. And she to waste some of the water, because that it did fizz up so quick, even as I, until that she was come used to this newness. And all this to be very plain unto you. And in the end of every journey, we slept 8 good hours in a safe place, and so to go onward again, and the maid to grow very eager as I did tell her this thing and that of the country that we did come downward unto. And she asked me questions, time and oft, and much I told her, and she to think upon it with a growing wonder and desire, even as a gladsome child that hath never seen the sea, and doth be told that it shall presently be there. And this to be but to shadow the way that Nani did be, for truly she did be a very live and eager maid in all things. And we to be still within the gorge, and to go constant by the fire holes and the fire pits, and to see the flames leap upward in this place and that, so that the mighty walls of the gorge would show very plain in an instant, and immediately to come the shadows again, and afterward the leaping of the flames, and so did it be for ever. And oft the muttering of the fire pits, and oft the utter quiet, and the shadows, and this time, and that, there did be a snake to go by us, and the scuttling of the monster scorpions, and mayhap a moving in the shadows of the great boulders, that did tell me there went maybe some peculiar monster in that place, so that I did be very wary, and to have the discourse alway ready. And when the 4th day was come, I showed the maid in the 6th hour the ledge that did be my first sleeping place, when that I was entered into the gorge. Now presently in the 11th hour, after that we had gone 5 hours in a bloom, there did show afar off a shining. And I caught the maid, and I pointed, and she also, to perceive that it did be surely the shining of the light of that great country that I did tell upon. And immediately we did begin to run downward, and with sore stumblings in this place and that, but not to halt us, for we did be so mad as 2 children for the gladsome light, and we came down presently in the 12th hour of that journey into the warm light and wonder of the country of the seas.